Opposed Niger's president. Thousands of people backing the coup in the country marched through the streets of the capital, denouncing Niger's former colonial power and in the process even attacked the French embassy. On Sunday, a door at the French embassy was set ablaze before the army broke up the crowd. Supporters of Niger's new military junta, waving Russian flags, attacked the French embassy in the country's capital, Niamey, burning French flags, stoning the diplomatic mission and setting its door and walls on fire. Niger, a French colony until 1960, was seen as the West's last reliable partner battling jihadists in Africa's Sahel region. France has 1,500 soldiers in the country who conduct joint operations with the Nigerians. The United States and other European countries have helped train the country's troops. Niger's dire security situation is not as bad as that in neighboring Burkina Faso or Mali, which have also been battling an Islamic insurgency linked to Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State. In fact, last year, Niger was the only one of these three countries in the region to actually witness a decline in violence, according to the Armed Conflict Location and Event Data Project. Niger has the most at stake amongst any country in the Sahel region if it turns away from the West, given the millions of dollars of military assistance it's received from abroad. Niger has been a key ally in Western campaigns against insurgents linked to Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State in the Sahel. And there are concerns that the coup could open the door to greater Russian influence there. Thousands of French troops were forced to withdraw from neighboring Mali and Burkina Faso following coups there. French President Emmanuel Macron said France will not tolerate any attacks on its interests and would immediately respond to any attack on French citizens. The French foreign minister said the era of coup d'etat in Africa must end. These are not acceptable, adding that no evacuation of French citizens was planned as the situation was under control. On Saturday, France said it had suspended all development aid and budgetary support to Niger. The European Union and France have ended financial support to the African country, while the United States has threatened to follow suit. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said the continued security and economic cooperation with the U.S. hinges on the release of the ousted President Bazoum, who remains under house arrest, and the immediate restoration of the democratic order in Niger. The British government has announced it will be halting long-term development assistance to Niger in the wake of the coup. In a statement following the decision by ECOWAS, or the Economic Community of West African States, the UK Foreign Office said Britain condemns in the strongest possible terms attempts to undermine democracy, peace and stability in Niger, and that ECOWAS had set out a strong and clear response to this infringement of the democratic rights of the people of Niger. Leaders of ECOWAS, a 15-nation bloc, immediately imposed sanctions on the country and threatened to use force if the coup leaders fail to reinstate ousted President Mohammed Bazoum within a week. The leaders called for restoring the status quo ante in Niger at an emergency summit in Nigeria, stating such measures may include the use of force. ECOWAS and the 8-nation West African Economic and Monetary Union threatened to blockade Niger's borders, ban commercial flights, freeze national assets, end aid and halt financial transactions. The communique added that the coup leaders would be banned from traveling and have their assets frozen. The African Union has also issued a 15-day ultimatum to the new regime in Niger, asking it to reinstall the democratically elected government under President Bazoum. Shortly after the ECOWAS meeting in Abuja, in Nigeria, the Chadian President Mohamed Bazoum arrived in Niger to lead mediation efforts. The 15-nation ECOWAS bloc has unsuccessfully tried to restore democracies in nations where the military took power in recent years. 4 nations are run by military regimes in West and Central Africa, where there have been 9 successful or attempted coups since 2020. Economic sanctions could have a deep impact on Nigerians who live in the third poorest country in the world, according to the latest UN data. The country relies on imports from Nigeria for up to 90% of its power. The sanctions would suspend all commercial and financial transactions between ECOWAS member states and Niger. Similar sanctions were imposed by ECOWAS on Mali, Burkina Faso and Guinea following coups in those countries in the past 3 years. West African leaders have threatened military action against Niger's junta, giving it 7 days, as we said, to reinstate President Bazoum, who is currently being held captive. Earlier, the junta warned it would resist any plan of aggression against Niger by regional or Western powers. ECOWAS has struggled to make a definitive impact on the region's political crises in the past. But Bazoum was democratically elected 2 years ago in Niger's first peaceful transfer of power since independence from France in 1960. Members of the Niger military announced last week that they had deposed Bazoum because he was not able to secure the nation against growing jihadi violence. But some analysts and Nigerians say that was a pretext for a takeover driven by internal power struggles. Demonstrators in Niger are openly resentful of France, and Russia is seen by some as a powerful alternative. The nature of Russia's involvement in these rallies is not clear yet, but some protesters have carried Russian flags along with signs reading "Down with France" and supporting Russian President Vladimir Putin. The coup has prompted concern that Niger, a former French colony, could in fact pivot towards Russia. The ousted president had worked closely with both regional and Western nations to fight militant Islamists. In Niamey, some of the protesters outside the French embassy chanted, "Long live Russia, long live Putin, and down with France." The Wagner Group, a Russia-backed mercenary outfit that made headlines for their involvement in the Ukraine war and their recently failed rebellion against Putin, is currently operating in Niger's neighboring country, Mali. Under Putin, Russia has expanded its sphere of influence in West Africa.
In its search for ways and means to intervene military in Niger, France, with the complicity of some Nigerians, held a meeting with the Chief of Staff of the Nigerian National Guard to obtain the necessary political and military authorization.
Well, can democracy be restored in Niger? That remains the million-dollar question. Time for us to take another quick break here on Global Lens. Don't go anywhere. Lots more for you on the other side.
GPT. It can generate codes and human-like responses through text, write stories, and do a lot more.
I work in a newsroom with anchors, researchers and scriptwriters, graphic artists, producers, video editors, camera crew. But does a newsroom really need them today?
All of us have to think about unique and distinctive value addition that cannot be automated or repeated or replaced by a machine.
ChatGPT may kill many companies.
A human has to be in the loop with an ability to control this.
Dark Side of the Boom. Streaming now.
Welcome back. You're watching Global Lens on News 9 Live with me, Neha. Khanna. Let's now turn our attention to India's neighbor, Pakistan. Yet another horrific terror attack in Pakistan has claimed dozens of lives. At least 44 people were killed and nearly 200 wounded when a suicide bomber triggered a powerful blast during a rally for a hardline cleric in northwest Pakistan. The explosion took place at the Jamaat Ulema-e-Islam Fazl's convention in Bajour's Khar in the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province. Maulana Ziaullah, the local chief of the party, was among those killed. Senator Abdul Rashid and former lawmaker Maulana Jamaluddin were also on the stage but escaped unhurt. Officials say party chief Maulana Fazlur Rahman was not at the rally. The Bajour district near the Afghan border was a stronghold of the Pakistan Taliban, a close ally of Afghanistan's Taliban government, before the Pakistan army drove the militants out of this area. Now, supporters of the hardline Pakistani cleric and political party leader Maulana Fazlur Rahman, whose JUIF generally supports regional Islamists, were meeting in Bajur, close to a market outside the district capital. Officials were announcing the arrival of Abdul Rashid, the party leader, when the bomb went off in one of Pakistan's bloodiest attacks in recent years. The JUIF chief, Maulana Fazlur Rahman, has demanded that Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif and the province's caretaker Chief Minister Azam Khan investigate the incident. Prime Minister Sharif, President Arif Alvi and other leaders have condemned the attack and asked officials to provide all possible assistance to the wounded and the bereaved families. The provincial police said in a statement that the attack was carried out by a suicide bomber who detonated his explosives vest close to the stage where several senior leaders of the party were sitting. Initial investigations suggest the Islamic State group that operates in Afghanistan and is an enemy of the Afghan Taliban, the ISKP, could be behind the attack. 3 suspects have been taken into custody. The provincial police chief Akhtar Hayat Khan has said 10 kilograms of explosives set off by the suicide bomber were used in this blast. He said the bomber was amongst the attendees seated in the front rows of the convention. The Pakistan Taliban, or the TTP, said in a statement that the bombing was aimed at setting Islamists against each other. Zabiullah Mujahid, a spokesperson for the Afghan Taliban, said on the social media that such crimes cannot be justified in any way. The JUIF party is headed by the Islamist cleric Fazlur Rahman, who initiated his political career as a firebrand hardliner, but who has softened his political image in recent years to make alliances with secular parties. No one immediately claimed responsibility for the attack, but the ISKP has emerged as the prime suspect, as the attack represents the culmination of an intense series of targeted assassinations of JUIF leadership that began in Peshawar back in 2016 and further expanded to Bajor in 2019. The attacks have intensified since last year. The local chapter of the Islamic State has recently carried out attacks against JUIF. Last year, the Islamic State said it was behind violent attacks against religious scholars affiliated with the party, which has a huge network of mosques and madrasas in the north and west of the country. The jihadist group accuses JUIF of hypocrisy for being an Islamic group while supporting hostile governments and the military. Pakistan's military says militants are operating from safe havens in Afghanistan, and it has threatened to mount an effective response in the wake of the recent attacks. The Afghan Taliban seizure of power in Afghanistan in August 2021 emboldened the TTP and other militants. The TTP unilaterally ended a ceasefire agreement with the Pakistan government in November last year and has ever since stepped up attacks across the country, largely targeting Pakistan security officials. In January this year, a TTP suicide bomber blew himself up in a mosque inside a police compound in the northwestern city of Peshawar, killing more than 80 officers. The latest bombing is one of the 4 worst attacks in northwest Pakistan in the last decade. In 2014, 147 people, mostly school children, were killed in a Taliban attack on an army-run school in Peshawar. In March 2022, a suicide bomber struck inside another mosque in Peshawar during Friday prayers, killing at least 56 worshippers in an attack that was claimed by the Islamic State. Time for us to take another quick break here on Global Lens, but we have more for you on the other side.
GPT. It can generate codes and human-like responses through text, write stories, and do a lot more.
I work in a newsroom with anchors, researchers and scriptwriters, graphic artists, producers, video editors, camera crew. But does a newsroom really need them today?
All of us have to think about unique and distinctive value addition that cannot be automated or repeated or replaced by a machine.
ChatGPT may kill many companies.
A human has to be in the loop with an ability to control this.
Dark Side of the Boom. Streaming now.
China won't let us rest easy on our borders, but they will keep flooding our markets. What does Xi Jinping really want?
I think he wants the Indian market, no doubt about it.
It's really a matter of showing their dominance.
India's great Chinese conundrum.
Nobody can contain it. Not the United States, not China, not anybody else.
Frenemies. Streaming now.
Welcome back. You're watching Global Lens on Newsline Live with me, Neha. Khanna. In this last segment, we are going to bring you a story from Afghanistan, an all too familiar story, unfortunately. The more things change, the more they remain the same. Nothing can be truer than this for the Taliban regime in Afghanistan. Remember when the Taliban captured power in Kabul in August 2021? There were those who had claimed, give them a chance. Taliban 2.0 may surprise you. It may turn out to be completely different from its original avatar. We may see a more modern, a reformed Taliban that respects women and treats the Afghan people kindly. Well, 2 years down the road, all those people have egg on their faces as the Taliban have proved them entirely, comprehensively and embarrassingly wrong. There is simply no end in sight to the Taliban's oppression of the Afghan people, in particular the unspeakable atrocities against and subjugation of the Afghan women. The list of tools of oppression employed in the last 2 years is so long we don't know where to begin. In their latest display of total aversion to all things associated with any civilized society, the Taliban regime has enforced a ban on music in Afghanistan. To drive home their point, the Taliban authorities recently created a bonfire of confiscated musical instruments in Afghanistan's Herat province, terming music immoral. They say promoting music causes moral corruption and playing it will cause the youth to go astray. Following the Taliban's return to power in 2021, many artists and musicians fled the country and sought asylum in Western nations. The Taliban consider music to be against the teachings of Islam. In the last 2 years, they've slowly established rules reflecting their austere interpretation of Islam, including a prohibition on public music performances. Saturday's bonfire saw hundreds of dollars worth of musical gear go up in smoke, much of it collected from wedding halls in the city. As for the Afghan women, the endless atrocities against them have resulted in each and every right of theirs being trampled on, and the women being systematically squeezed out of public life in that country. Now, Afghan women are not allowed to drive or even travel in taxis without a male companion. They must be covered in burqa while traveling in a four-wheeler. The Taliban have banned beauty salons across the country. Thousands of beauty salons across Afghanistan have been forced to close down permanently. A diktat that cuts off one of the few sources of income available to Afghan women while also robbing them of the last available cherished space for socializing. Remember, these salons were all run by women and were often the only source of livelihood for scores of Afghan households. Beauty salons had mushroomed all over Kabul and other Afghan cities in the 20 years when the United States-led NATO forces occupied the country. They were seen as a safe place to gather and socialize away from men and provided vital business opportunities for women. But ever since the Taliban recaptured power in August 2021, following the withdrawal of the NATO troops, life for the women of Afghanistan has been a living hell in every way conceivable, with every single right being snatched away from them. Thousands of women government workers have either lost their jobs or been told to stay at home with some sort of money being paid. The beauty salon ban will see another 60,000 women lose their income from work at some 12,000 salons, according to the Afghanistan Women's Chamber of Commerce and Industry. A report submitted to the UN's Human Rights Council last month by Richard Bennett, the Special Rapporteur for Afghanistan, states that the plight of women and girls in the country was amongst the worst in the world. Taliban security forces in Kabul have been making the rounds to ensure that all salons are complying with the ban. The regime says the ban was necessary as extravagant sums of money were being spent by women on makeovers, causing hardships for poor families, and that some treatments at the salons were un-Islamic. This edict represents yet another grim milestone for the almost non-existent women's rights in Afghanistan. Since the Taliban seized power 2 years ago, the government has steadily rolled back women's rights, barring women and girls from most public spaces, banning girls and women from high schools and universities, essentially imposing a ban on their education. prohibiting them from working with local as well as foreign NGOs, banning them from parks, fun fairs, gyms, you name it, ordering them to cover up in public, even barring them from travelling any significant distance without a male relative. Women have been wholly excluded from public office and the judiciary. All over Afghanistan, women say they feel invisible, isolated and suffocated and are living in prison-like conditions. Many are unable to have their basic needs met without access to employment or aid, including access to medical assistance, healthcare and psychological support, in particular for victims of violence, including sexual violence. The UN Development Programme has estimated that restricting women's employment could cost up to 5% of Afghanistan's gross domestic product. Amnesty International has reported a drastic increase in the number of women arrested for violating discriminatory policies, such as rules requiring women to only appear in public with a male chaperone and to completely cover their bodies. The rates of child marriage have increased alarmingly. As per a report by the United States Institute of Peace, in many public elementary schools, the Taliban have been appointing women trained in the regime's approved madrasas as teachers and principals. The Taliban ordered them to enforce the regime's requirements for women and girls to wear all concealing clothes. In recent weeks, the Taliban's Virtue and Vice Ministry in some schools has instructed principals to examine the bodies of girls as young as 10 or 11 for signs of puberty and to expel them from school if they appear to be beginning to mature. Having taken Afghanistan virtually back to the Stone Age, the Taliban have proven beyond all doubt that they are simply incapable of operating within the framework of a modern governance system. All right, that's all the time we have on this Monday edition of Global Lens. Do join us again tomorrow at the same time. If you have been, thanks so much for watching. Good night.
China won't let us rest easy on our borders, but they will keep flooding our markets. What does Xi Jinping really want?
I think he wants the Indian market, no doubt about it. It's really a matter of showing their dominance.
India's great Chinese conundrum.
Nobody can contain it. Not the United States, not China, not anybody else.
Frenemies. Streaming now.
A very warm welcome to all of you in News 9 Mediaverse. I am Kartikeya Sharma. With me is our legal editor Ashok Bagaria, and you are watching our special coverage on Manipur violence. Manipur violence issue will be taken up by the Supreme Court. A Supreme Court bench headed by the Chief Justice of India, D.Y. Chandrachud, is hearing the plea of the two women who were seen in the Manipur sexual violence video after they approached the apex court. Bench comprising Justice J.P. Pardiwala and Justice Manoj Mishra is hearing a fresh petition related to the viral video case. The Supreme Court will also hear the central government's plea to transfer the trial of the cases outside the state. Supreme Court has taken suo motu cognizance of the matter on July 20th. The court had asked the state government and sent it to take immediate steps in the matter and appraise it on what action that has been taken. Meanwhile, Manipur government has assumed the task of biometric capture of all illegal Myanmar immigrants in the state. This follows the Ministry of Home Affairs instructions to complete the campaign for biometric capture by September 2023. A lot of other things have happened. For example, huge rallies on weekend took place in Imphal. Huge rally took place in Aizawl. There was an all-party delegation which went to the Manipur. They met number of refugees, they met the governor. But before that, I would like to know from you, and you know, these are the on our screen you can watch, these are the people who had spoken. These are the people who had spoken. They are trying to say that the violence in Manipur must come to an end. That's what they are trying to say. Footballer Konsum skips international tournaments amid conflict. You have the case in Supreme Court. You have people who are expressing outrage. Meitei groups to stage a sit-in protest in Delhi on August 6. So it's not as if the things are coming to a calm. There is a new calm in, I would say, Manipur. You know, people have separated. They have gone the different ways. Opposition MPs are saying that the condition of relief and camps are pathetic. And let me tell you, our coverage of Manipur is based on facts. We don't run any unverified video. We do not run any unverified comments. We do not take any story which we have not verified. These are the stories which have been published in wires by our reporters or which have been covered by the proper agency. So biometric capture of Myanmar migrants begin. So Manipur has not remained a Manipur problem. Manipur has become a big problem. Manipur has become a problem of Northeast. Manipur has become an issue which is directly impacting the Parliament of India. You know, the Parliament is not functioning properly. And most important of all, you will have a no confidence motion in Parliament and the Manipur will be discussed. Ashok, tell me one thing. What happened in Supreme Court and what do you expect Supreme Court to do today?
See, Kartikeya, first of all, you'll have to understand that there are a bunch of petitions which are coming up for hearing today, raising various issues. Number one, issue relating to law and order, issue relating to relief and rehabilitation, issue relating to those 2 women who were paraded naked and sexually assaulted. Then there is another petition which is actually seeking protection for children and women specifically, and then there is also a whole range of issues on which the Supreme Court has taken so much.
Tell me one thing, Supreme Court karega kya? What will Supreme Court do? I really want to know, because the hope is on the court. What do you expect the court to do? A lot of people must be thinking, आज Supreme Court कुछ ऐसा करेगा, कर सकता है, कर दे, जिससे चीजें बदले. And I am using the common man's parlance. I know Supreme Court understand that there is a division of authority when it comes to governance. But in popular parlance से होता है ना कि न्याय तो Supreme Court में मिलेगा. You remember no one shot Jessica Lal? Where did justice happen? Justice happened in the Supreme Court. Where did Sabrimala go? It went to the Supreme Court of India. Where is same-sex marriage being heard? It's in the Supreme Court of India. Positive legislations, Supreme Court of India. So people have this thing that Supreme Court kuch na kuch karega. Just lay it down for our viewers. Aaj kya baatein hongi? What will happen in context of Manipur in Supreme Court?
Well, Kartikeya, you're bang on when you point out that the people's hope lies with the Supreme Court of India. There is a perception that when any institution or every institution in the country fails, the Supreme Court will be with the people of the country, with the people of Manipur. Now that is the expectation. But the reality is, in the courts, the judges have to deal with cold facts, hard facts. The court does not have independent power, or rather it does have, but it does not have an independent authority to send out people there and to try to figure out as to what's happening. The court, the Supreme Court judges are relying on the facts and figures which are given out by the Manipur government and the central government. Now, I'll tell you, a month back there was a hearing in the Supreme Court. The central government and Manipur government assured the Supreme Court of India that all steps are being taken to ensure that law and order situation in the state is restored. They even assured the Supreme Court that people, those who have been displaced from their villages, their homes which have been burnt, they will be rehabilitated. They again reinforced or reassured the Supreme Court that all efforts are being taken on the part of the central government to deploy paramilitary forces, and there are some areas in which even the army has been deployed. So what do you expect the court to do in a point situation like this, when they are being shown the fact that this is what we are doing? However,
court show the way.
All said and done, there are petitioners who have come to the court. Now there are cookies, there are meaties who are both parties in the Supreme Court of India. They have been arguing against each other, and in fact I'll tell you, Kartikeya, last time around the Supreme Court of India said that, look, please keep this allegation and counter allegation that you're making against each other outside the courtroom. What we want is that calm should be restored in the state first. Once calm is restored, then you can be got on the talking table, try to work out a formula. But at the moment, the big thing is that peace has to be restored in the state. This state has been I will say the whole fabric of the state has been torn in the last 70 days. It's not that as if it cannot be repaired, but it will take time. The fissures, the fault lines between the two communities are running so deep that there will be a serious effort, out of the box thinking on the part of the Manipur government as well as the central government to ensure that the state, peace and calm in the state is restored. Now, one last thing, that here again today what will happen in the Supreme Court? The Supreme Court will ask the Manipur government. The Manipur government is already filing a status report. The central government is filing a status report. They are saying that these are the steps that we are taking. So much we are doing. What can we do when situations are actually spiraling out of control? Now here, what the Supreme Court will do is that, okay, they'll say that, look, we'll prioritize a few things for you. That these are the things you have to do on priority basis.
Okay.
That protect the lives of children.
These are the visuals of the governor, in the relief camp, on your right side, Ashok.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, hey, it look better on your right side.
Yeah.
That's where.
Okay.
Before we take this conversation with Ashok further, let's play out that soundbite of the spokesperson, his plea.
ये चूराचांद डिस्ट्रिक्ट में ये दूसरा विजिट है मेरा, और मैंने पिछले बार भी कैंपों में जाकर और जो भी देखा, लोगों से मिली, उनकी जो भी तकलीफ थी, दर्द, उनका दुख था, मैंने उनकी सारी चीज़ों की बात सुनी और जो कुछ भी था मैंने कोशिश किया, इनकी जो भी मूलभूत जो वर्तमान में उनकी आवश्यकता की चीज़ें थी वो मैंने जाकर और शासन को निर्देश दिया था और वो उसमें काफ़ी कुछ इनकी सुविधाएं इनको प्राप्त हुई है। जो दिनचर्या की चीज़ों का जो था, पहले तो केवल भोजन ही मिलता था, लेकिन साथ साथ उनके जो चाहे वो उनका कपड़े हैं, उसके साथ साथ साबुन है, सौंफ है, ब्रश है, ये तमाम जो चीज़ें थी और ये सारी चीज़ों को भी निर्देश दिया था, हाइजीन किट से लेकर और मच्छरदानी और बेड और चादर, ये भी एक ज़रूरी था ना कि केवल खाना ही सब कुछ नहीं था। तो ये सारी चीज़ों को सरकार, यहाँ प्रशासन धीरे धीरे कर रहा है, लेकिन कुछ चीज़ें अभी भी यहाँ आपूर्ति का अभाव है क्योंकि यहाँ पर सामान नहीं आ रहा है, हाईवे बंद है और वहाँ के साथ साथ कई जगह पे जाम लगा हुआ, रोक लिया, यहाँ सामान नहीं आ पा रहा है। लेकिन कोशिश कर रहे हैं कि धीरे धीरे बहुत दूर से मिजोरम की तरफ से भी सामान, मगर फिर भी अपने तरफ से मेडिसिन की बहुत तकलीफ है। मैंने स्वयं मेडिसिन लेकर आई हूँ, मैं भी हेलीकॉप्टर से भी मैंने भिजवाया है।
I was surprised like what might have happened. So when I called back after the match got over, I got my phone, I called back and I was really worried what happened, and then I heard my mom crying over the phone. She was saying that they were burning houses, there were gunshots, there were attacks, and which I was really worried and scared. I thought maybe I would lose all of them. I'm talking to them for the last time. I don't know how to express that feeling. It was really scary because as I said, I thought I would lose all of them and I was speaking to them for the last time. And I told my mom, please do not hang up the call, please be on the line. Yeah, that's how it happened on the third night. And I was to fly on the fourth back to Hyderabad after we played the match. And I stayed the entire night awake and was speaking to my mom over the phone. And fortunately, they escaped the Indian Army. They evacuated them from Chochanpur. They provided trucks, buses and jeeps to evacuate them from there. And then that's how they went to the relief camp in Moyang. And then from there on, then I heard the news of our house being destroyed, burned and being torched. And then after a few hours, again, the football turf that I built in the locality in Chochanpur, Tuibong, is being burned, destroyed as well. So I got this information and it was really heartbreaking and sad because I had a big dream of providing a platform to the youngsters coming up in Chochanpur. They were really talented, but they couldn't afford a football school. So my dream, my plan was to provide them a platform where they can become a professional player and then they can go on and play for the national team and then become a great player for the country and help their family as well because as you know now, football, once they become a professional, they can help their family and people around them, their life changes. So that was my plan, but then this incident happened and everything got destroyed and everything being robbed, taken away. Fortunately, I would say my parents, my family, everyone escaped alive, and that's, I would, it's God's plan, I would say, that they're alive, and I'm happy about that. But everything that we ever earned and ever had is being all taken away. Now we have to again, as a family, regroup, build the strength, and then restart again. Yeah, that's pretty much what's at the moment. And what's unfortunate is we still have no clue when we can return back home. Well, there is no home. That's what I heard from a few friends that I have back there in Chochanpur. They told me that our house is being destroyed, broken down, and so as the football club as well. And so there is no place called home for me to go back. But I hope we can rebuild and restart again once the government gives us a green signal. I would say that we are safe to go there, we are safe to start a new life, because like us, there are many families who are stranded elsewhere in relief camps and many other places in Manipur who are finding it hard to survive as well. So it's getting tougher each day. So I hope the solution is there. The concerned people who are to look after us and to protect us and to give us the shelter and for us to build our future on, to decide. And so we can't plan anything at the moment, and it's really sad to see my family suffering. That's one of the reasons I couldn't go play for the national team.
I'm also joined by Dr. Thangzakup Tombing, Assistant Professor, National Law University and Judicial Academy from Guwahati, Assam, and I'm also joined by Lieutenant Colonel retired L. Manogba, former officer, Indian Army and General Secretary of the Armed Forces Ex-Servicemen Association, Manipur. तो सबसे पहले Colonel साहब मैं आपके पास आऊँगा. The first question I have for you is, one thing is criminal justice system, which has kicked into action in the Supreme Court. They will look into the cases where the violence took place. But the another issue is of that of massive displacement of people. Are we witnessing something which happened long time back in Mizoram in post 68, 69, when the action was taken against then Lal Denga, when there was concerted attack on Aizawl and other places? Is there something like that happening? When Indian Army combed out the militants?
Yes, say again.
I'm saying that there's a massive displacement of population which is taking place. It's as if we don't learn from our history.
Yeah, the displacement of people have taken place, unfortunately. Now, this is not a natural process of displacement on their own will or the thing. It's because of the fallout of the unfortunate violence that has taken place. And now, you can't equate it with what has happened in Mizoram or elsewhere. This unfortunately has happened, and it is I'm sure that it was avoidable if the peace process was continued, and then hopefully it will come back to the people will have to go back to their own places if possible, and if not, then what is the way ahead that we have to think of as far as the displacement is concerned.
That's a very interesting point of view. Mr. Tombing, your first comment on the biometrics which is taking place. A lot of things are all over the place right now. You have people in camps, you have matter in Supreme Court, you have no debate in Parliament. It seems that a clear pathway is absent.
Yeah, thank you for the invitation. The pathway, how to achieve this, this is actually a very big concern and issue right now, because things have got stagnated, and in fact, since an idea of peace cannot be deliberated and discussed yet, and to comment on any kind of a liability without coming up with a certain kind of an special investigation report or maybe a CBI report. In fact, because everybody is traumatized right now, and like Lieutenant Colonel Manongba and also the other aspect that you have discussed, people are now displaced and they have been forced out of their land, out of their home. And we now know that when a person is displaced, she ends up being very helpless. And this has an impact on how life has to be resumed. And without peace, you cannot resume, but then there is no pathway also, right, at the given juncture. Thank you.
Juncture, but what needs to be done? I think, wouldn't you agree that there has to be sort of a peace and reconciliation commission? Mr. Tombil?
I think we do need that, but then in one way, when we have ended up demonizing a certain section of society, and where the power play of state, it is not balanced, and therefore anybody who speaks for the community and being on the receiving end of the state, and certain community leaders, be it an academician or be it an CSO leaders, when they have cases against them, which may be founded or unfounded, it doesn't create any kind of confidence building measures at the moment. So what it is leading to is that there is a great divide which is getting cemented and concretized over a period of time, and it is almost 90 days now, and in the heart and mind and soul of everybody, this divide is eating into their soul now. So how do you heal an injured soul? How do you heal a demonized soul? How do you heal a traumatized soul? Then before you heal that, can you create or talk about an idea of confidence building measure? This is a $1 million question at the moment.
Okay. But Colonel Saab, tell me, apart from the fact that there is a deep divide, you know, there is also great exasperation on part of a lot of people who see money from far away, that instead of normalcy being reduced, you know, Manipur has turned out into a place where two populations have completely segregated themselves.
Article, I will put it this way. The separation and the segregation has taken place due to unfortunate events of 3rd May and further thereafter. You're right that people who are connected to Manipur and overall the India and the Northeast, the people who are associated, connected, or who are part of the whole, the place, feel very pain to hear all this and then experience this. Now, why this has happened, what should not have happened, but I'm sure that once the peace process or the reconciliation, whatever happens, whatever takes place, the state and the people will have to find ways and means to get into a reconciliatory mode. And like good old saying that forget and forgive. However, should there are the entire population, I'll say that the entire population, that is 15-16 lakhs of Meiteis and about say 3-4 lakhs of Kuki community brothers, all of them are not segregated. I want to emphasize on this that all of them are not segregated, all of them are not different. Fortunately, because wherever the possible, there are people who are talking, who are interacting with each other. And there are, we cannot say that because the clashes happened, because of the fear, people have gone away to their respective places of safety. It does not mean that there is a 100% enmity between the Kupis and the Meiteis. There are, elements which are inimical to the whole process. Those are the elements which are being like the Meiteis claim that there are illegal immigrants and people who are indulging in the armed conflict or armed assault onto the Meiteis, and the Meiteis also are being blamed for certain amount of elements of the society. However, there are radically very strong people who are contesting each other. However, the entire 100% population of each other are not fully divided, not fully spent. I am certain that why we are hopeful about the returning to peace someday is there are still large sections from both the communities who are still who still feel that they have to go back to their original status, and the demand of so and so or demand of so and so is their individual demand, which can be met or not met. There is different things. What is keeping them separated and away is the present fear due to the violence that is there. That is what is keeping them segregated, and which is not good for the state and for the country to be kept segregated. They have to be reunited at the earliest in whatever possible manner. I would put it that way. Thank you.
Let's play out the bite of Anurag Thakur on this matter. Let's play out that bite first.
कुछ विपक्षी दल के सांसद मणिपुर गए। मैंने तो उस दिन भी अनुरोध किया था कि बंगाल भी आइए। मैं भी पिछले कल बंगाल में था। वहाँ पे महिलाओं के साथ अत्याचार कैसे हुआ, अपराध की घटनाएं कैसे बढ़ी। लेकिन शायद ये विपक्षी दल बंगाल की महिलाओं में, राजस्थान की महिलाओं में, बिहार की महिलाओं में और मणिपुर की महिलाओं में भी भेदभाव कर रहे हैं, उनके अधिकारों में भी भेदभाव कर रहे हैं। हमने चर्चा के लिए तो पहले दिन से ही कहा था कि मणिपुर पर चर्चा ही हो जाए। आखिरकार विपक्ष चर्चा से क्यों भाग रहा है? और 2 हफ्तों में एक दिन भी वो चर्चा के लिए नहीं आए। और अभी भी अगर वो मणिपुर गए हैं तो वापस आकर क्या वो कल चर्चा में भाग लेंगे? मेरा एक बार फिर उनसे हाथ जोड़कर निवेदन है कि विपक्षी दल चर्चा में भाग लें, अपनी बात वो भी कहें और ये भी सुने कि जब विपक्ष में, अब तो वो विपक्ष में है, लेकिन जब वो सत्ता में थे, कांग्रेस की सरकार थी, तब कई महीनों तक मणिपुर जलता था, मणिपुर बंद रहता था। मणिपुर में उस समय पेट्रोल की कीमतें 5-5 गुना ज़्यादा होती थी, मिलता नहीं था पेट्रोल डीजल, रसोई गैस के सिलेंडर नहीं मिलते थे, अनाज की कमी आती थी। ना तब उस समय के प्रधानमंत्री गए, ना उस समय के गृह मंत्री गए, ना उन्होंने कभी संसद में कभी बयान दिया।
So that was Anurag Thakur, and these are the visuals of the all-party meeting which took place in Manipur. So you had a lot of leaders who had gone, met Mr. Uike. All these leaders had met every person who mattered. It was an all-party delegation which went to Manipur in the weekend. Our reporters are also there. They brought on the ground reports. But I think what is really concerning is that in Manipur, somehow the approach is that this is going to take long time. Mr. Tombing, isn't that the feeling that, this, like other sort of insurgencies, other civil unrest, like Mizo unrest, Naga unrest, or Bodo unrest, it's like, ye waqt lega. This will take time, this is the sense I'm getting. But is this the correct political approach?
I would humbly like to submit that the MNF movement and then the NSCN movements, they have been for a secessionist movement. So it was a protracted insurgency movement. This is an ethnic clash, and then the clashes have continued.
I'm very happy, Mr. Tombing, you actually made that distinction. The reason why I used it as an example was that ultimately people were internally dislocated. For example, the Brew dislocation, or for example, the campaign which the army took, the marking out of the villages. These are historical texts written. They were inspired from the Malay campaign under colonization. So those tactics were deployed in Northeast also. My limited point was internal displacement of people.
Yeah,
I understand the difference. You are right. No arguments there.
Yeah, this internal displacement has brought forth certain understanding, because when we say internally displaced, and then when also we say asylum seeker, the similarity, there are certain features which are similar, for an internally displaced person also, and for a refugee seeker as well, what has politically happened and communally and community ethnically that has happened is you have to leave your home and then your state or maybe your district because you need to save your life. And everybody longed for their home, for their district, and whatever they call is their homeland. And the disturbing problem is that the internally displaced people, they now fear of their life. And this is happening even though they are citizens of India and they very much domicile of a certain district or certain place of a certain state. And the frustration and then the big letdown is, I am a citizen of India, but I cannot go back to my home state. I cannot start my normal life, and I cannot continue education of my children. How depressing is this? And unless and until a certain accountability is fixed at the earliest and peace is not achieved, this protracted ethnic clashes is going to continue. And there is now an established buffer zone at the foothills where every night or during daytime or early morning, there would be sporadic incidents of gun firings. And these are not simple gun firings, and they are very serious in its nature and its core and its manifestations. Now, the big question now is, how do we stop this worrying militarized village volunteers from stopping the sporadic violences? How do you stop that?
Colonel Saab, how do you stop that? Because the weapons which have been looted have not come back. The bullets have not come back.
I have a suggestion in this matter of weapon. Now the first thing is the loose and unaccounted weapons in the hands of either side. I say either side, both in the Kuki side as well as those allegedly looted weapons, or in the Meitei side, both have to be, we'll have to disarm all the weapons, collect all the weapons, and then make accountability for all the weapons in the loose hands. Now that is the first thing. How it is to be done? There are experts in the army domain or security forces domain how it can be done. I will give an example of, say, we had, in a different scenario, there was a communist party movement in Nepal, the CPI movement led by Prachanda Singh, and then there was a heavy movement, weaponized Gurkhas there. They were the first thing when the UN peacekeeping forces came in and the UN intervention came in. The first thing they did was to disarm, get these people to collect those weapons and then put them in a safe place of confidence. Similarly, in this place where the weapons are there, I have been hearing this from the 4th of May that so many weapons have been looted, so many weapons have been returned or recovered. Now we have not spoken about anything about the weapons in the other side of the party. Yes, the weapons have been looted in the valley area. Let's say that they have been looted. Their accountability has to be taken by the state government. Similarly, if there are weapons being used by the Kuki so-called village defense forces, they are definitely not 12-bore and single-bore licensed guns. Because of all the video recordings and whatever is coming in the social media, the guns that are being fired are automatic weapons which can be made up by even a simple ordinary person. Now those weapons which are being, the people are saying that whatever the weapons were there in...
May I stop you, Colonel Saab, may I stop you? Something very important has happened in the court, and we'll play out the graphics. A very important statement has come. One of the petitioners have said कि SIT गठित होनी चाहिए, SIT होना चाहिए, and Supreme Court said that in present situation हम अनुच्छेद 32 के तहत दायर याचिका स्वीकार नहीं कर सकते. So the Supreme Court is saying that they cannot accept petition under the para 32, which is the provision 32. Supreme Court also said something very important. You know, our reporters are saying that Meitei समुदाय के एक संगठन की याचिका में कहना है, a Meitei community which petitioned the court apart from the cookies, they are saying that this violence is happening because of narco-terrorism. And the Supreme Court, the Chief Justice of India have said, you cannot make one ethnicity, you can't treat them like terrorists. And the Chief Justice of India said, please get us facts. Supreme Court ने याचिका को सुनने से मना कर दिया, which means that Supreme Court is saying that baseless charges should not be made. A very important. This petition will amount to branding a particular segment of population as terrorists. We cannot do this. SC refuses to entertain a PIL in Manipur matter that sought a probe in the issue of narco terrorism, deforestation, poppy cultivation, transnational migration and blockage of highways. Mr. Tombing, your comment. A very important development in the Supreme Court of India. A very important development has taken place. Your yes, comments, Mr. Tombing.
Yes, I applaud this comment of the Supreme Court, and this has in one way vindicated many of the narratives and arguments that have been put forth by the Zou community intellectuals and spokesperson. Because the parallel that I want to draw is, now we have internally displaced people from both the communities. If you say there is a refugee seekers because of the Myanmar junta related problem, and if you personalize them, you can see that they are merely poor people who have been drawn out of their home. They want some shelter, they want food, they want education for their children. Now, for the internally displaced people who happen to be Kuki Zou communities also, it's the same experience. And when we have created a narrative that they could be narco-terrorists, we are making helpless people being demonized. And the outcome is there is a top-down radicalization of the commoners.
And we also have those visuals. Mr. Tombing, we have those visuals. I would like them to play the visuals of the border. Please play out the visuals of the border, which our reporters have got. You know, let us play out these visuals, you know. Let us play these visuals out. Mr. Tombing, you complete your argument, then I'm going to go to the Colonel Saab on this. Very important thing.
Because
can you put Mr. Tombing on screen, Shalini, with Mr. With the visuals? Yes, please go ahead.
Because my understanding is they are helpless people. They just want shelter. And in the top-down level, when you have radicalized these asylum seekers, right? And when you collate it with our internally displaced people, you get to know that how helpless they are. And when you have successfully radicalized a certain section of society, what did you get? You get ethnic clashes. And what is the outcome of that? Whatever progress Manipur state has made in 2 decades has been in shambles. And this is not helping anyone. When it comes to insurgency movement, we know that this is for political aspiration and self-determination. But this demonization and then the narrative that has created, it's going to scar the memories of young people, as young as 5 up to young adults and even middle-aged people also. And that has, in fact, eaten away and destroyed the fabric of this beautiful state of Manipur. How do you fold it back? How do you make a U-turn? But then in this 90 days of whatever has happened, these feelings are getting concretized and cemented. Is it worth it that you created an idea of a narco-terrorist to a certain asylum seeker and thereby making a blanket statement that everybody is like that? Thank you, sir.
Okay. Colonel Saab? Very important CGI obita dicta. This is an obita dicta, sir. This is not an order. I must clarify to our viewers that this is an obita dicta. This is an obita dicta. This is not an order. He refused the petition. So I must be very clear. Obita dicta. And this is the oral observation recorded in the court. and reported by the press. Colonel Saab.
Sorry, I couldn't get the one exactly the court is.
Sir, okay, I'll read it out for you, sir. Supreme Court refuses to entertain a PIL in Manipur matter that sought a probe in the issue of deforestation, poppy cultivation, transnational migration, blockage of highway and narco-terrorism. CJI says the petition will amount to branding a particular segment of population as terrorist. We cannot do so.
Okay, got it. Now, as far as the Supreme Court is concerned, or what is the whatever verdict it has given, it is to the wisdom and the capability of the Supreme Court, which I cannot refute in any case. However, what I interpret from this is they are saying that this cannot be dealt in the. If there is a case of narco-terrorism then or illegal immigration, it has to be sorted out at the government level. It cannot be, debated or argued in the court of law. So the due process of the law, as per the rules that are applicable and are available to the powers and the tools available with the government, state and the center, there are narcotics control bureaus, there are other authorities. Immigrations can be checked. If there are immigrations, then it has to be checked. And if there are narco-terrorism or narcotics are being peddled in, it can be checked. It should be checked. And those are the things which we have to deal with at the ground level. Maybe the Supreme Court is right in his statement saying that you deal this at the government level. That is what I read it, but it has not said that it is not there. Nor do I say that it is there, but then we need to, there is a considerable amount of activities hinting to these 2-3 things. One is the narcotics peddling. The second is the weapons, gun running, excessive amount of weapons coming in. And the third thing is the militancy of the armed rebels, whichever the same background, they are interfering in the internal matter this side. There are enough adequate hints of that, including a statement by the Chief of Army, ex-Chief of Army Staff General Naravne 2 days back, that there are hints that the Chinese hand cannot be just ignored. That is what I have also been insisting. So the Supreme Court ruling says we will not deal with it, but what I understand is that they have not said no, it is not there. It may be there, so we have to deal with it at the government level, at the state level, and the citizens level. The citizens themselves have to be aware, have to be concerned that these will someday eat into their own society, both the Kukis, Nagas, and Meiteis. So we as citizens, we have already faced the menace of drugs. Maximum number of families in both in Churachandpur or Kukis and as well as the Meiteis have gone through the pains and pangs of drug addiction and deaths in the family. I have faced it myself. We have had our own close and kith and kin dying because of drugs, and the drugs are coming in from somewhere. It is not being sent by hovercraft. I mean, it is not being sent by drones from across. It is being brought by people from across the border, and we all know it. I have served in this Indo-Myanmar border from the back on the border. I know that there is the narcotics that has been there. Narcotics being associated with terrorism or militancy.
So you are saying you are saying, sir, that present problem stems from narco-terrorism?
What I am saying is there is narcotics peddling from across the border. That is I am very dead sure about it. Which a lot of people, it is evident by the number of people methamphetamine WI tablets caught earlier, as well as from the times of 1980s when I was posted in the border areas. We used to apprehend those heroin powders those days. Now it is the methamphetamine. Now these drugs are there continuously. The golden triangle, which we visualize in the Kachin Shan triangle, that area, Thailand border. Now, probably to my mind, the base has shifted closer home towards Indo-Myanmar border, which is a great possibility, and it is much easier for them to push it aside. sending it across to Thailand or Rangoon to the port is much difficult than much easier to decide. Hence, narcotics peddling is there. Who is doing it? That is a different thing. And the second thing is terrorism. By all means, this area is a very fertile land for the terrorism and the insurgency, which gets mixed up and then becomes a very potent cocktail, which is being used by them.
Okay. Okay. Now, sir, let me just play out the what the PIL has said once for our viewers, and then we are going to play out some more bites. What the Supreme Court observation on that PIL is. Can I have that on the graphic here? Can we play this out? What the Supreme Court said on the PIL? Let's play out. Manipur case in Supreme Court, SC refuses to entertain a PIL that sought a probe in the issue of narco deforestation. Basically, this stems from the fact that you have narco terrorism, deforestation, poppy cultivation, and it links up that with the social unrest which is happening. The PIL sought a probe in the poppy cultivation, transnational migration, blockage of highway. But CGI says this petition will amount to branding a particular segment of population as a terrorist. A very important statement made by the Chief Justice of India. Very important statement, because Chief Justice of India is actually saying that you cannot brand a community as a terrorist, and that what we have been saying, let us not other each other. Just because Meiteis are in majority doesn't mean that they are doing majoritarian politics. Just because Kukis are living on the border doesn't mean that they are narco-terrorists. This othering by both sides needs to end. Now, before I go back to my esteemed panel, let us play out the bite of the market vendors, those people whom we hear but we don't get to see. Let's play out those bites first.
खराब हाल है, देखो खाने पीने का पीसेस का वो दाम बहुत बढ़िया होता है, रहने का वो तो मकान, रहने का मकान सब आज चलाता है। सी होने से भी हम लोग तो उस लोग का भी थोड़ा मदद करके ऐसा ही रहता है। ऐसा इतना हाल होने से भी हम लोग शांति के लिए, हम लोग जल्द से जल्द शांति चाहिए, शांति करने के लिए कोशिश करो, सरकार को डिमांड करके रहता है।
को बहुत खराब हो गया है, क्योंकि बच्चा भी स्कूल नहीं पढ़ता, तुम फ्यूचर के बच्चा के अभी तो फेल हो गया, इसलिए तो नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने अभी तो मणिपुर शांति चाहिए और थोड़ा देखने के लिए ना अभी Manipur प्रजा को बचाओ।
We all the women community strongly condemn the act of that naked protest and all kinds of atrocities that has been committed to women. And we, the Meitei community, is a community that respected the women a lot. And whomsoever has been the culprits of those kind of activity must be punished, and we would be lending our helping hand in punishing the culprit.
राजनीति आके हम लोग को इधर में आने मत दीजिए, हम लोग आपस में घर में बेचने के लिए करो। राजनीति आके इधर में बात करके वो लोग आपस चले जाएगा, हम लोग को लिए कुछ नहीं सोचता है। वो लोग आपस में बात करके चुपचाप से रहता है, हम लोग के लिए घर में जाने के लिए कुछ नहीं सोचता है वो लोग।
जैसे कि पॉलिटिकल लोग आना अच्छा है, मतलब दैट इज गुड, एंड हम लोग चाहते हैं कि पॉलिटिकल लोग आए ना आए, पर फिर भी हम लोग को जो भी यहाँ पे जो प्रॉब्लम हो रहा है रिलीफ कैंप में रहने की वजह से, और यहाँ पे जो जितना हम लोग घर पे रहता है वैसे ही हम लोग यहाँ पे तो नहीं रह सकता, पर फिर भी यहाँ पे जितने भी हम लोग को हेल्प मिल रहा है ये सब ठीक है। पॉलिटिकल लोग है वो आए या ना आए, फिर भी हम लोग चाहते हैं कि हमारे जैसे पहली टाइप जो रहता है हमारे घर पे हमारी जगह, वहाँ पे हम लोग को जाना है, जैसे पहले रहता है वैसा ही रहना है।
So these are the visuals. These are the ground report visuals which we are getting you. Last 36 hours our correspondents were there. This is all from More. This is what has happened. The lives have been destroyed. These are the pictures which tell you what has happened in Manipur. I am nowhere to pass judgment, but these pictures tell a story. These pictures tell a story. When we do politics of othering, this is what happens. These pictures tell a story that if we don't trust our state institutions, this is what happens. This also tells a story that somehow politically there is a failure at the state. There is a political failure. I would say that the army is doing its job, but there is a political failure. There is a failure at the top, which has manifested at the bottom, and the price has been paid by the common Meitei, common Kuki, common Naga, common Indian. I think if the political class in Manipur would have spoken more, said more, then these things would not have happened. These are the latest visuals, and most important of all party delegation went. All party delegation met people. Even the governor came out. Unprecedented governors don't come out. Our correspondent spoke to the governor of Manipur. Let's play out that tic-tac. Let's play that out.
मैम आज दौरे पर निकले हैं, क्या कहना चाहेंगे, कैसे हालात इस वक्त मणिपुर के हैं मैम?
ये चूराचांद डिस्ट्रिक्ट में ये दूसरा विजिट है मेरा, और मैंने पिछले बार भी कैंपों में जाकर और जो भी देखा, लोगों से मिली, उनकी जो भी तकलीफ थी, दर्द, उनका दुख था, मैंने उनकी सारी चीज़ों की बात सुनी, और जो कुछ भी था मैंने कोशिश किया, इनकी जो भी मूलभूत जो वर्तमान में उनकी आवश्यकता की चीज़ें थी वो मैंने जाकर और शासन को निर्देश दिया था, और वो उसमें काफ़ी कुछ इनकी सुविधाएं इनको प्राप्त हुई है। जो दिनचर्या की चीज़ों का जो था, पहले तो केवल भोजन ही मिलता था, लेकिन साथ साथ उनके जो चाहे वो उनका कपड़े हैं, उसके साथ साथ साबुन है, सौंफ है, ब्रश है, ये तमाम जो चीज़ें थी, और ये सारी चीज़ों को भी निर्देश दिया था, हाइजीन किट से लेकर और मच्छरदानी और बेड और चादर, ये भी एक ज़रूरी था ना, कि केवल खाना ही सब कुछ नहीं था। तो ये सारी चीज़ों को सरकार, यहाँ प्रशासन धीरे धीरे कर रहा है, लेकिन कुछ चीज़ें अभी भी यहाँ आपूर्ति का अभाव है, क्योंकि यहाँ पर सामान नहीं आ रहा है, हाईवे बंद है, और वहाँ के साथ साथ कई जगह पे जाम लगा हुआ, रोक दिया, यहाँ सामान नहीं आ पा रहा है। लेकिन कोशिश कर रहे हैं कि धीरे धीरे बहुत दूर से मिजोरम की तरफ से भी सामान, मगर फिर भी अपने तरफ से मेडिसिन की बहुत तकलीफ है। मैंने स्वयं मेडिसिन लेकर आई हूँ, मैं भी हेलीकॉप्टर से भी मैंने भिजवाया है। मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि जो भी राजनीतिक देश के अंदर जितने भी दल हैं, मैं उनसे भी ये अपील करना चाहती हूँ कि वर्तमान में जो हमारे मणिपुर प्रदेश में जो सिचुएशन है, जिस तरह का वायलेंस हुआ है, हजारों की संख्या में लोग कैंपों में रह रहे हैं, अगर वो आकर उनके दर्दों को बांट सके तो बहुत अच्छी बात है। और मैं चाहूँगी कि चाहे प्रदेश सरकार हो या केंद्र सरकार और पूरे राजनीतिक दल एक साथ मिलकर अगर इस प्रदेश में शांति लाने की पहल करें तो मैं उन्हें बहुत धन्यवाद और उनकी आभारी रहूँगी।
आखिरी सवाल, इलीगल माइग्रेंट क्या एक बड़ा वो मानती हैं फैक्टर है यहाँ पर इस पूरी हिंसा के पीछे?
देखिए, ये तमाम सारी चीज़ें, इस मामले में मैं कुछ नहीं कहूँगी, क्योंकि ये जो भी कुछ हो रहा है, इन तमाम सारी चीज़ों के लिए एक जांच कमेटी बनाई गई है कि इसके पीछे क्या तथ्य है।
I am also joined by Mr. Suhas Chakma. Very warm welcome to you. How are you, sir?
Fine. Good morning. Thank you.
Suhas, we were having this conversation on the weekend. I'll start with that because Colonel Sahab is there, Lieutenant Colonel retired ML Manokbaji is there, Dr. Thangza Khup Tombing is also there. Suhas, Supreme Court has refused a petition on the ground saying that if we take this petition on just on narco-terrorism in context of a community and transnational migration, it will be akin to branding this community as a terrorist group. Your first comment, it's a, this is an obiter dicta, it's not an order, but it just tells you the direction of the court.
Well, I think it was an excellent comment made by the Chief Justice. I was hearing the proceedings of the court, and Chief Justice was very clear that, if you bring issues like narco-terrorism, then deforestation, basically in the current context, you are identifying one particular group to be narco-terrorists or the people who are involved in deforestation, etc. And I don't think the court could have intervened in that manner. And it's very unfortunate that when you see this kind of petitions coming up before the court, and court is forced to actually in a way recuse itself or speak in a manner which is perfectly all right for the court. But the procedures of the court is not to be abused or misused. I mean, and the court was very much right to reject the petition itself, and the number of authorities they have what to say brought in. I don't think court could have ordered, for example, involving the Ministry of Environment.
But Suhasji, I would also say, I understand that, very right of the court to say so. But there is an issue of narcotics. जैसे पंजाब में है, you would, I think Friday, the Pakistani minister himself said the drones are being used. I know the drones are not being used in Manipur, but the golden triangle exists. That issue is there. That cannot be discounted. I am not saying that everything problem which is internal to India can be attributed to the foreign hand. No, I don't buy that narrative. I am not one of those journalists. But to say that that problem does not exist is to say that is to discount something which is happening in front of us. Suhasji.
No, I don't think anybody is denying the fact that there are problems of drugs which emanate from Myanmar. Not only Golden Triangle, much before the Golden Triangle, these have been continuing. But to say that only one particular community is involved and the way the narrative has been developed is extremely unfortunate. And I was reading a story yesterday which was published by Frontier Manipur about a year and a half back, where the Chief Minister of Manipur and his political advisor, we are talking to a person who was arrested under the NDPS Act. I mean, what does that convey? So if there are investigations to be conducted, then of course, if the court interferes in every narco problem and the Supreme Court start issuing, why only Manipur? It could be Mizoram also. It could be Arunachal Pradesh also. It could be Assam also. It could be all these states. See, I think the Supreme Court had to withdraw itself, not because the issue is not serious. The issue is very serious, is very much serious. And then now I think if there is a problem, the first issue for you is to go to the Narcotics Bureau of India and the government of India and see what actions they take and what actions they do not take. And do we believe that this narco business in this country can operate without the support, complicit participation of the political class, irrespective of wherever they take place? The political class, some sections of the political class are involved, law enforcement officials are involved.
Suhasji, point taken. There are two things which are happening. One is there is a proceeding which is taking place in the Supreme Court of India. We are going to report it. Even as we speak now, the proceedings are taking place there. So we will be reporting those proceedings. Our colleagues from the court are sending pointers. I will be throwing those pointers to you, sir. You can take us through those pointers, give your sharp opinion on that. The second thing which is coming to our notice is, which I would like to revisit this again, Mr. Tombing, I'll start with you, is something which happened on today's 31st, it happened on 28th and 29th morning also. And I thought it really merits a discussion. First, this was witnessed from Myra Paibis, blocking of the army cavalcade. On 28th, a large number of women folk stopped buses carrying security personnel at Tengupal from entering More. Security personnel were deployed to tackle the clash that broke out on Wednesday. Then, again, thousands of them disconnected and tried to block the road. How do you explain? And I'll come to you, Colonel Saab. What is this? Anyway, there is militarization of the civil community, but women being deployed at forefront and not letting the army do its job from both the sides. This is something very unique.
If I got your question correctly, that these are the Myra Paibis, the so-called Myra Paibis, the lady Imam.
Women from both the sides. Women from both the sides.
Okay.
Even the women from Kukizo community, this happened in Tegnopal district on 28th.
All right. Now, what I would comment on this is why the Myra Paibis or the women women associations have come into the forefront is now there is somehow the state governance, the state police forces, their control and the reliability of the various number of CSOs amongst both the communities. I mean, like the Cookies will not trust the Meitei CSOs, Meiteis will not trust the Cookie association. So there is a kind of a vacuum that has taken place in the governance and overall ambience that is happening in existing in the society. Now, when the vacuum has taken place, who takes place? Somebody has to do the monitoring or the some kind of authority over the society activity. That is where the Mahila Paivis or the women's association in both the sides or any side happen to step in, because the first thing, the women are very respected, and secondly, they have got a very big say in the society. So they are probably being, automatically being mobilized by on their own this thing, so that they fill up the vacuum of governance. I mean, I'm not saying that the entire state government has failed, but there is a lack of confidence among the public in general about that inability to stop the violence, and that is why Mahila Paivis have come into the play, and they are trying to resolve it in their own way. I mean, that's my take on the Mahila Paivis. I'm not blaming anybody. I will not blame anybody. They are part of our society. They are part of our families. Cookie Mahila Paivis or the Cookie Association, Women's Association will be part of the family who have been hurt, who have been, they have faced the problem. Our Mahila Paivis are also, they are not mostly from the general public. They are not political leadership families or this associated. They're mostly of the general public, and they feel the pangs of the whole, this episode, and they feel that there is a lack of control over. I won't say lack of governance, but there is a lack of control over the entire atmosphere. That is why they want to control the violence to whatever possible means that is possible within their capacity as a group. That, I think, is the main reason why the Mahila Paivis have come in, or the women's association from the other side has come in, and that will continue unless the violence is controlled by the government. Central government has to step in and control the government. That is why my earlier friend Sapam Santi had cried over in the media, in the public glare, that we need the strong hands of the government, the central government, to come and say, "Bache log, you are not behaving, you better sit down and talk." Unless that happens, the Mahila Paivis and the such associations will keep filling the vacuum. I'm sorry to say that there is no activity on this aspect. We are not trying to control the violence, but we are trying to blame whose blame is more true or more better. That is why this continuing violence is happening.
Okay, Mr. Tombing?
Mahila Paivi, when we use this term, there is a soft and very catchy phrase that is also used, that they constitute the Imas. And then when you translate Ima, there's an understanding that they are all mothers. So when you see from a maternalistic connotation of the word Ima and then using it parallel with Mahila Paivi, usually the understanding is that the maternalistic instinct of nourishment, protection of children is at the forefront. Now, the Meitei Cookies have been living together for a long time, and then they do learn from one another. And the Cookie communities might have also learned from the Meitei Mahila Paivi communities that our maternalistic instinct is to protect, nourish our community and our people. So why would they interfere? One part could be that there's a fear that bunkers are being destroyed, and therefore that might make their communities vulnerable. But then the larger context of the Mahila Paivi is that it is an embodiment of multiple personalities. One personality could be the maternalistic personality, which is kind, which is compassionate, which is loving, which is forgiving, and which works for the nourishment of the community, the culture, and then the society at large. Now, another part of the embodiment of personality could be belligerent, vicious, and very vindictive also. Now, this question has been asked for multiple times, that why the Mera Paigi would indulge in certain anti-state activities, thereby creating hindrances with regard to the movement of security forces, and thereby leading to more violence. Now, when you break it down, maybe the belligerent or maybe the vicious personality gets expressed, and like our colonel has said, that they may not necessarily, in fact, reflect the general aspirations of whoever were imams in the Meitei context of it. But then when you break it down from a vicious, belligerent personality aspect of it, maybe there you may find your answer, that since there is another personality aspect of it, which is quite belligerent and which is quite vicious and has an idea of a targeted enemy, and there maybe the answer to this big question of why being an imam they end up being so vicious, there you might be able to find the answer.
Okay.
With regard to the, yeah, I would like to say that the materialistic instinct usually come at the forefront, and they think that if they indulge in such kind of an activity, maybe they are protecting and nourishing their community.
Okay. One more thing, the couple of developments which are also taking place in the parliament, will come to that. There are a couple of bites, because you know there is a fight in the parliament which is taking place. Manipur pe discussion kis rule pe ho? The government is saying 267 pe hona chahiye. The government is saying 267 pe nahi hona chahiye. Opposition saying that this discussion should take place, in a different provision. So discussion is not happening. But then there are a lot of important sound bites for parliament have come. Let me just play them out. So opposition parties are insisting on a discussion under Rule 267 instead. This is the latest from Manipur. Now the issue is Piyush Goyal has states the centre ready for discussion under Rule 176 on Manipur violence. So so opposition says 267 and the government is saying 176. मैं उल्टा बोल गया. The government is saying 176. Opposition is saying 267. बात यहाँ फंसी हुई. That's where the whole damn thing is stuck. Discussion हो तो कैसे हो? Let's listen to these sound bites.
जो उधर हुआ है उसके चर्चा सदन में होना चाहिए. तो सदन में हम चर्चा करने के लिए जब तैयार है, जब सदन चल रहा है, तो बाहर जाके ऐसे स्टेटमेंट तो देख क्या है ना, जो बोलना है सदन में बोलने दो, जो उसको उस विषय पर जो उत्तर देना है, रिप्लाई देना है, चर्चा करना है, वो सब के लिए सरकार तैयार है. ये बार बार हम इन लोगों को रिक्वेस्ट कर रहे हैं, अपील कर रहे हैं. तो अगर इसमें ये संवेदनशील मामला है, इसमें पॉलिटिक्स करना बंद करना चाहिए.
पहले दिन से ही हम कह रहे हैं कि भाई आपकी इस संबंध में डिमांड किया है. उन्होंने कहा इस पे चर्चा होनी चाहिए. हमने स्वीकार कर ली तो उन्होंने पैतरा बदला कि प्रधानमंत्री जी को आकर के जवाब देना चाहिए. अब ये ऐसे मसले पे भी विपक्ष की जिम्मेदारी होती है कि मसला शांतिपूर्ण समाधान की ओर बढ़े. ऐसे मसले पे भी वो राजनीति कर रहे हैं. ऐसे मसले पे तो राजनीति नहीं करनी चाहिए. राजनीति के बहुत अवसर हैं जी, और आप चर्चा के लिए हम तैयार हैं. हमने कहा आप 1 दिन चर्चा करो, 2 दिन चर्चा करो. हमारे गृह मंत्री जी ने सदन में कहा लोकसभा में कि हम चर्चा करने के लिए तैयार हैं, आप टाइम तय करो. लेकिन उन्होंने तो जिद पकड़ रखी है. अब नो कॉन्फिडेंस मोशन और ले आए, तो उसके लिए भी स्पीकर साहब जब टाइम देंगे तब हम भी चर्चा के लिए तैयार हैं.
So I can only say that I hope that 267 and 176, these two issues are resolved. Very warm welcome to you, Bhaumik ji. Dada, how are you?
I'm fine.
Welcome to our new studio. It's much better than the previous one. It's much bigger, better lights.
I hope the discussion gets better.
Oh, आप है तो discussion तो अच्छा ही होगा.
Have an access of delivery vehicles.
आप है तो
discussion. Good morning.
आप है तो discussion अच्छा होगा. Dada, first your comments on this Supreme Court.
Less in form, more in substance.
Okay.
Chalo, let's get started.
Yes. So the Supreme Court has shunted away a PIL, saying that if this is the way we are going to take a PIL, which was saying that let's take a PIL on deforestation, narco-terrorism, this and that, highway blockage. So the Chief Justice of India said, boss, this is like branding a community as a as a terrorist community, your first comment on it. They said they can't take the PI.
The Supreme Court has done the right thing. They have tried to stop two things. One is fake narrative. The second is hate speech. There is an attempt to talk about narco-terrorism. What the hell does narco-terrorism mean? Are they trying to say that the narcotics drug lords, the Burmese drug lords, are backing some particular terror group? Which are the terror groups which operate out of Myanmar? It's a making, insurgent groups. I won't call them terror groups, but they're insurgents. The PLA and KYK, they are the people who operate from Myanmar. The cookie groups have been in SOO, suspension of operation, mode, and they have been inside Manipur. The narco-terrorism. You know what? This big thing about poppy cultivation. Poppy cultivation is a problem for the future. If the acreage under poppy increases in Manipur, Burmese drug lords who have primarily promoted it would be inclined to move their processing factories in Manipur because India is the big market. And that's a real big problem for the future. But at the moment, the problem is less poppy cultivation, is more the contraband organized drug trafficking from Manipur, or from Myanmar into Manipur, then through Assam and Tripura, partly into Bangladesh, partly into the rest of India. And I'm aware of these drug routes. I know the Burmese drug lords who are involved in it. I also know, I can't name them here. I don't want to get your channel into trouble. There are very powerful forces like Shual said, organized drug trafficking without political and administrative patronage and support is never possible. Never possible. There was, a couple of months back, this Manipur police officer, Tanajam Brinda, raided a very important person, a very close relative of a very heavyweight political person. She landed in a situation that she had to leave her job because she tried to book this guy. There's a huge quota of amphetamine seized from his house, but he could not be booked because he's related. He's, very close to a very heavyweight politician. And there are similar heavyweight political elements involved in this train in Assam, in Tripura. I've seen the BSF intelligence report. The brother of a very important BJP leader is involved in this. Now the point here is, what about these things? And most of the, what about the Itocha drug cartel? They're not cookies. So there is this whole narco-terrorism, poppy cultivation narrative. The target has been a particular community. The idea has been to put them under pressure, clear the tribal lands, so that other corporate and business interests from the valley, from the rest of the country can penetrate the hills and set up business here. But the problem is, I admit that if acreage under poppy goes up in Manipur, the Burmese drug lords will move their processing factories here. One Burmese network even came up to Calcutta, our network. They could get on rent the residence of Upen Vishwas. Now, Upenda is a very, proper police person. He's not corrupt. He booked Lalu Prasad, if you remember, the Ghotala, Chara Ghotala thing. So Upenda could have made a lot of money, Upen Vishwas, if he wanted to, in Bihar. He did. But he was given reference by the Mizoram House, so he rented his place to these guys. Then the Narcotics Control Bureau raided the place. The Ahwa network people, they fled via Shillong. But they had come as far as Calcutta because these networks are trying to set up processing units within India so that the large Indian market for, narcotics drugs can be sort of, sustained. And they're increasingly trying to move out of Myanmar, where accessing their poppy fields there has become difficult because of the civil war condition. Now this whole cheap narrative that some IT cells of some parties have floated and backed by, some newly created, IT groups in Manipur, this is all bum-com. And I know I've followed this Burmese Manipur drug trade since 1988. When I identified the leading drug trafficker of Manipur, he had got permits for acetic anhydride, the processing chemicals, which he then sent to Myanmar and got processed drugs in return. And he got this acetic anhydride, which you and I can't get, by saying that he's setting up a pharmaceutical industry there, which is all bomb company. So I've followed this drug trade, and I don't need to get it from these jokers who are putting out stories about narco-terrorism and all that stuff. And the Supreme Court has done a very good thing by sticking to facts, sticking to law, and that's what it should be. You know, facts, not bias. So this whole PIL has fallen through. The purpose of the PIL is well known. It was to brand a certain community and then justify the harsh measures against that community that the state government, the state police has been taking. Now, won't you like to fight? Would somebody in Manipur, some good soul, file a PIL asking the police to recover all these weapons that they themselves have given out? What kind of governance are we talking about? It's like Marx has said, the state has withered away. I don't want to bring up Marx because I'm a Bengali, I will be branded as a Bengali leftist, which I'm not. But Karl Marx has said, the state has withered away. The state has withered away or is withering away in Manipur. So long as these 4,000 odd rifles are out in the hands of troublemakers and the state has to beg these people to return them, setting up drop boxes, which is again a drama, like the tearing of the resignation letter of the chief minister. These are all brilliantly enacted drama to create a narrative. And this whole, transnational migration. What transnational migration? I just did a major seminar in Calcutta on migration. And I studied this subject. The Chins who come are ethnic cousins of cookies and, Mizos. When they flee, they're not illegal migrants, they're refugees, they're fleeing persecution. Like the Tamil refugees down south, when the civil war was on in Jaffna Peninsula, or the Bangladesh refugees in 1971, these Chin refugees have been coming into Manipur and Mizoram since, unrest started in Myanmar with the 1988 movement. And periodical eruption of public agitation followed by huge military crackdown forces these people. So they are refugees.
Okay.
So India has not signed the 1951 Refugee Convention.
Okay.
India, as an aspirant of Security Council position, cannot overlook the humanitarian considerations and not give shelter to these refugees who have serious fear of life and limb. So that's the union.
Okay.
You brand them as illegal migrants. Everybody is an illegal migrant. So because his grandfather was born in Bangladesh. What nonsense is going on?
No, absolutely right, Dada.
Narco-terrorism, these are all fake narratives promoted with political purposes. I seriously challenge them, and I can provide all kinds of details to counter these narratives.
Okay. Let me play out the bite of the sports person. So you understand how common people are suffering in Manipur. Let us play that bite out, how common people are suffering in Manipur. Let's play that long segment of that sports person, that footballer, Mr. Consum.
I was surprised, like what might have happened. So when I called back after the match got over, I got my phone, I called back, and I was really worried what happened. And then I heard my mom crying over the phone. She was saying that they were burning houses, there were gunshots, there were attacks, and which I was really worried and scared. I thought maybe I would lose all of them. I'm talking to them for the last time. I didn't know how to express that feeling. It was really scary because as I said, I thought I would lose all of them, and I was speaking to them for the last time. And I told my mom, please do not hang up the call, please be on the line. Yeah, that's how it happened on the third night. And I was to fly on the fourth back to Hyderabad after we played the match. And I stayed the entire night awake and was speaking to my mom over the phone. And fortunately, they escaped the Indian Army. They evacuated them from Chochanpur. They provided trucks, buses and jeeps to evacuate them from there. And then that's how they went to the relief camp in Moyang. And then from there on, then I heard the news of our house being destroyed, burned and being torched. And then after a few hours, again, the football turf that I built in the locality in Churchandpur, Tuibong, is being burned, destroyed as well. So I got this information, and it was really heartbreaking and sad, because I had a big dream of providing a platform to the youngsters coming up in Churchandpur. They were really talented, but they couldn't afford a football school. So my dream, my plan was to provide them a platform where they can become a professional player, and then they can go on and play for the national team, and then become a great player for the country and help their family as well. Because as you know now, football, once they become a professional, they can help their family and people around them, their life changes. So that was my plan, but then this incident happened and everything got destroyed and everything being robbed, taken away. Fortunately, I would say my parents, my family, everyone escaped alive, and that's, it's God's plan, I would say, that they're alive, and I'm happy about that. But everything that we ever earned and ever had is being all taken away. Now we have to again, as a family, regroup, build the strength, and then restart again. Yeah, that's pretty much what's at the moment. And what's unfortunate is we still have no clue when we can return back home. Well, there is no home. That's what I heard from a few friends that I have back there in Churchandpur. They told me that our house is being destroyed, broken down, and so as the football turf as well. And so there is no place called home for me to go back. But I hope we can rebuild and restart again once the government gives us a green signal. I would say that we are safe to go there, we are safe to start a new life, because like us, there are many families who are stranded elsewhere in relief camps and many other places in Manipur who are finding it hard to survive as well. So it's getting tougher each day. So I hope the solution is there. The concerned people who are to look after us and to protect us and to give us the shelter and for us to build our future on, to decide. And so we can't plan anything at the moment, and it's really sad to see my family suffering. That's one of the reasons I couldn't go play for the national team.
And let's take the bite of the governor of Manipur. Let's see what she has to say.
ये चूराचांद डिस्ट्रिक्ट में ये दूसरा विजिट है मेरा, और मैंने पिछले बार भी कैंपों में जाकर और जो भी देखा, लोगों से मिली, उनकी जो भी तकलीफ थी, दर्द, उनका दुख था, मैंने उनकी सारी चीज़ों की बात सुनी, और जो कुछ भी था मैंने कोशिश किया, इनकी जो भी मूलभूत जो वर्तमान में उनकी आवश्यकता की चीज़ें थी वो मैंने जाकर और शासन को निर्देश दिया था, और वो उसमें काफ़ी कुछ इनकी सुविधाएं इनको प्राप्त हुई है। जो दिनचर्या की चीज़ों का जो था, पहले तो केवल भोजन ही मिलता था, लेकिन साथ साथ उनके जो चाहे वो उनका कपड़े हैं, उसके साथ साथ साबुन है, सौंफ है, ब्रश है, ये तमाम जो चीज़ें थी, और ये सारी चीज़ों को भी निर्देश दिया था, हाइजीन किट से लेकर और मच्छरदानी और बेड और चादर, ये भी एक ज़रूरी था ना, कि केवल खाना ही सब कुछ नहीं था। तो ये सारी चीज़ों को सरकार, यहाँ प्रशासन धीरे धीरे कर रहा है, लेकिन कुछ चीज़ें अभी भी यहाँ आपूर्ति का अभाव है, क्योंकि यहाँ पर सामान नहीं आ रहा है, हाईवे बंद है, और वहाँ के साथ साथ कई जगह पे जाम लगा हुआ, रोक लिया, यहाँ सामान नहीं आ पा रहा है। लेकिन कोशिश कर रहे हैं कि धीरे धीरे, बहुत दूर से मिजोरम की तरफ से भी सामान, मगर फिर भी अपने तरफ से मेडिसिन की बहुत तकलीफ़ है। मैंने स्वयं मेडिसिन लेकर आई हूँ, मैं भी हेलीकॉप्टर से भी मैंने भिजवाया है। मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि जो भी राजनीतिक देश के अंदर जितने भी दल हैं, मैं उनसे भी ये अपील करना चाहती हूँ कि वर्तमान में जो हमारे मणिपुर प्रदेश में जो सिचुएशन है, जिस तरह का वायलेंस हुआ है, हजारों की संख्या में लोग कैंपों में रह रहे हैं, अगर वो आकर उनके दर्दों को बांट सके तो बहुत अच्छी बात है। और मैं चाहूँगी कि चाहे प्रदेश सरकार हो या केंद्र सरकार, और पूरे राजनीतिक दल एक साथ मिलकर अगर इस प्रदेश में शांति लाने की पहल करें तो मैं उन्हें बहुत धन्यवाद और उनकी आभारी रहूं।
Suhaji, your first comment on the Consum interview. What he said.
Well, I think he had a much broader approach than the BJP leadership at the center. And so, I mean, in a way, it's a welcome change. But it does not change the ground situation. The ground situation at this moment is that Indian army can be stopped by the Mera Babies or it can be stopped by any other groups. And we have seen that. Now, if it's a country, then it's the government which should be in charge of the administration. How could you have a situation where the Indian army could be prevented by the civilians where to go and where not to go? It basically shows that the state itself doesn't exist. It has collapsed completely. It is not different from Somalia. And I repeat that again. The situation in Manipur, despite the presence of thousands of troops, it is like Somalia or worse than that. Because in Somalia, you are not having this kind of killings. So when the state allows non-state actors to take control of the governance, then it basically means that the state no longer exists. And that is what the serious concern is about. How could you have a situation that is a small state, which is Manipur, and you are supposed to have the fourth largest army in the world, and you cannot create a situation where, you know, the basics humanitarian supplies cannot be transported. So it's a huge humanitarian crisis. And imagine a situation where this kind of humanitarian crisis takes place outside India or internationally, and International Committee of the Red Cross is not being allowed to transport humanitarian materials. That is exactly the situation in Manipur. And the government of India is behaving in such a manner as if because there are no killings on a day-to-day basis, situation is limping back to normalcy. You know, it's, I mean, you know, no government what this solve could accept the situation. So that's why if when you look at the speech of the governor, though it's very broad in terms of accepting the role of the opposition parties, here you have a governor who has failed. I mean, why would the governor have to, you know, carry medicines or send medicine herself? It basically shows that you do not know what are your powers. The governor is head of the state, and the governor under the Article 371 of the Constitution is supposed to prepare an annual report or whenever the situation requires about the situation in the hills, etc. Because that is what the Constitution provides. And you yourself should be reporting to the Home Ministry saying that this is the situation, the government doesn't exist, it has collapsed, and these are the measures to be taken. So the governor, I would say, is as helpless as me and Subirda or anybody else. You know, if that is the attitude of the governor, you can imagine. So that is why I think the whole country is being taken for a ride, that there is no governor, there is no government, there is no chief minister, and the writ of these authorities do not run beyond the official or beyond their own office. The government does not exist in Manipur. And it's a shame for a big country or, you know, a country which is trying to be the, you know, member of the Security Council or, you know, trying to claim one of the big largest economies in the world. Look, you cannot restore security, law and order at the hands of the security forces. That's the bottom line, that the government doesn't exist. So there is nothing to defend. I don't think the government can defend whether it's rule number 167 or 176 or 267. It doesn't matter. You do not exist as far as Manipur is concerned. And if the security forces are prevented today, either by the Meitei groups or the Kuki groups, you are emboldening them. You are encouraging them. So a situation has arisen today where Meiteis believe that they will not give an inch to the Kukis because Indian army, for the first time, they have realized that Indian army cannot do anything, and even insurgents caught with arms can be snatched away. So a section of the Meiteis believe that, you know, Indian state has already succumbed. The same goes for the Métis. That is not something which is good for this country.
You know, Dada, you said this long time back. आपने word इस्तेमाल किया था, I recall it. Then you said, well, मैंने बहुत emotionally बोल दिया, डंडे का इस्तेमाल करना चाहिए, so that, you know, people riot act should be read. I think that's what you meant, na? That riot act has not been read. The people who have taken away the arms in their own hand. If I recall that conversation with you, which I had a month ago.
Yeah, what I have said a month or 1.5 months ago has all played out. And all these theories, fake narratives and, you know, bum-bum stories that have been carried here and there over the media have all been proved wrong for the very simple reason that they were not either reflective of ground realities or were deliberately fed with some intent. The point here that Suvash makes is very important and which I repeatedly say, and at the risk of being branded a leftist and quoting Marx, state has withered away. The point here is that Indian Army was deployed, but till today it don't have a unified command. There was this big drama about the resignation of chief minister. Even the BJP has thrown out chief ministers who have caused much less controversy, much less damage to party image. But Virenji is still there. No, I am neither for Viren or anti-Viren, but I can say with reasonable authority that the government has failed and the person who has to take overall responsibility is the chief minister. And therefore, if he believed in the tradition of Indian politics, but people like Rao Bahadur Shastri as railway minister submitted resignation after 2 or 3 railway accidents, that's a fading brief though, then Virenji should have resigned. But there was this big drama that these very troublemakers who got weapons from the police actually came there and they were involved in this drama of tearing up his resignation. So we exactly know the linkages, we know who is involved in what kind of drama there and who has what kind of interest in this play. There are 3 things, Kartikeya. Is the center going to tolerate this whole thing going down? I am not for, you know, unrestrained and unimaginative use of the danda. I believe in Chanakya, Sham, Dam, Danda and Bhed. So danda is one of the 4 elements of handling crisis, tackling enemies and that kind of stuff. But at the moment, the way things have shaped up in Manipur, a very strong action is required. And you cannot have strong action unless you have a structure in place. Where is the unified command, sir? Why is it not put in place? This is a double engine government, all these beautiful phrases coined to justify, you know, make a tiger out of a fox or a jackal. You know, these all smartly crafted narratives are all falling apart, sir. We now know that the government, the person projected as lion or tiger is actually a jackal and a fox. Wily, cunning, knows how to stay in power, but failing in his duty as government. And here, apart from the unified command, it's also required simultaneously to start a dialogue. Day one, we have been saying this. 1 or 2 meetings initiated by the Home Minister, now nobody talks about that. So where is this, you know, dialogue going to happen? And how are you going to tackle the increasingly hardline tribal attitude, Kuki attitude, that why we have no future in Manipur, humko alag ho raha hai. And of course, you know, the sort of greater Mizoram stirrings in Mizoram. But people think, oh, well, you can't protect our Kuki brothers, you know, ask them to join us in Mizoram. And this has significance elsewhere, because like the Kuki Zomi Mizo group, you know, the Nagas are also a trans-border, trans-regional tribe, straddling several state boundaries and 2 national boundaries are the boundaries between India and Myanmar. These are serious implications in policy. But आप किसको समझाओगे? दिल्ली सब जानता है यार, हम लोग बेवकूफ हैं, या चिल्ला रहे बैठ के आपके स्टूडियो में, आपने थोड़ा मौका दे दिया, हमने थोड़ा चिल्ला लिया. पर दिल्ली has its own calculation.
लेकिन दादा एक चीज तो मानेंगे, the first time I met you was in this studio which looks different. we redid the studio. Then we went to a smaller studio, and I said this, Dada, that I am not letting this story go. You know, whether 150 people are watching me, or whether 1,150 people are watching me, whether it's 3,350 people are watching me per second, I will do this story from Northeast till I can. And we have, our whole News 9 team has done it, Dada.
No, you have succeeded. You have actually put me on the street and helped me connect to friends who I lost 50 years ago. One of my school guys, you know, wrote me a mail today that Dada, I've seen you here, yes, I, you know, did my engineering from NIT Trichy and then joined the Indian Navy and then joined as MD Hindustan Shipyard. Great to connect to you. I got your, you know, email from the guys in TV9 because after I saw you in TV, तो यार आपने हमारा तो अच्छा कर दिया कि बहुत सारे पुराने फ्रेंड से हम कनेक्ट हो गए. कुछ लोग दिल्ली में भी जो सीरियस डिसीजन मेकिंग में है वो लोग भी सुने हैं कहते दादा यू हैव सेड द राइट थिंग. बट यार these people don't count unless the emperor is pleased to respond to this crisis and understand what you are trying to say. Unless the emperor does something, यार हम लोग तो
आपने नॉम चॉम्स्की वाली बात बोल दी दादा. You said something which I recall of Noam Chomsky. There was a book he wrote on manufacturing dissent, and he said, you know, when a foreign policy, if there is a street
manufacturing consent,
manufacturing consent, you know, if there is a street protest taking place on a foreign policy issue, he argues that anyway people who are behind those thick walls know what decision they have taken, wrong or right. This protest on the street will make no difference.
And always follow the money. My former boss in legendary journalist, conflict journalist Alexander Thompson used to say, follow the money, you have the story. See, who is putting the money behind these crowds which gathered in front of the chief minister's office and tore up his resignation? Who are these guys who went to the police station and got all these pistols and rifles? You know, who is financing them? Paisa kaun de raha hai inko? Who has put together a mob and turned it into an organized mob first and then into some kind of a quasi-political force. Singal. किसने किया? हमको पता है. The point here, Kartikeya, is very simple. Everything is known now. India, whatever people may say, you know, we are not China, we are not Pakistan, we are even better than America. Finally, you know, we still have in place systems and structures of democracy by which people will get to know the truth. And all these IT self-help can fool nobody. But here the trouble is, decision to hum log nahi lete hai na. Janta does not take decision. Janta elects people who go to parliament, who then form ministries, they take decisions. But if the Janta dwara elected people behave like the old emperors of old, कि उन्होंने सोचा, उन्होंने कहा, फिर काम होगा, नहीं तो नहीं होगा, तो हम यहाँ पिटाई होगा, आग लगेगा घरों में, लोग रोते रहेंगे रिफ्यूजी कैंप में, और हम यहाँ टीवी स्टेशन में चिल्लाते रहेंगे. नो इफेक्ट सर. राजा जी को समझाइए, महाराज को समझाइए, ये तो कुछ नहीं होने वाला है. और ये 2-2.5 महीना मणिपुर में 150 लोगों के मौत, हजारों के तादाद में घर जलने के बाद कि हमको एहसास हुआ है कि राजतंत्र वापस आ रहा है और हमें उसे स्वागत करना चाहिए. अब मैं नाटक नहीं कर रहा हूं, कर लेता हूं, अच्छा बंगाली हूं ना, थिएटर वेटर अच्छा कर लेता हूं. बट चक्कर ये है कि मैं सही दिल का बात कह रहा हूं आपको कि यार ये लोकतंत्र फिर से अगर राजतंत्र के तरफ जाते नजर आ रहे हैं, जब तक राजनीति को एहसास नहीं होगा तो मुल्क में कुछ नहीं होगा. हम आप स्टूडियो में बैठ के चिल्लाएंगे. पुराने दिनों में जैसे ढोल बजा के लोगों को अलर्ट किया जाता था कि ये हो रहा है, वो हो रहा है, हम लोग यहाँ चिल्लाएंगे. सुहास जी कुछ बोलेंगे तो कह देंगे साहब ये इंटरनेशनल है बिकॉज ही लुक्स अ बिट चाइनीज और आई डोंट नो व्हाई. ये रेशियल फैक्टर भी है ना कि ये यार पता नहीं चीन का एजेंट बना देगा, मुझको बांग्लादेश का एजेंट बना देगा, कुछ बना देगा, कुछ भी कुछ बना देगा. और झूठ बोलने का तो एक स्टेट ऑफ आर्ट टेक्नोलॉजी हम सामने देखते हैं ना. ये नैरेटिव, how WhatsApp groups and all these IT cells, they were brilliant. They do their job. महाराज को तख्त के तौर पर रखना है, तो ये लोग सफल है। ये सब करके लोगों को उल्टा सीधा चक्कर ये कार्तिक, as you rightly said, this is Shekhar Gupta wrote it when he wrote a brilliant, sort of partially personal memoirs kind of a thing on Northeast when he left the place. And he said, when this Assam riots happening and we were pillion riders who traveled, he said, this is a part of my country which is burning here. This is not Assam which is burning. If you have any feeling of India as a nation state, I believe it's a civilization state, but, तर्क में नहीं जाता हूं. If you believe, you feel proud as an Indian. असम जल रहा है, मणिपुर जल रहा है, साहब आपका घर जल रहा है जनाब, थोड़ा तो रहम कीजिए.
सुहास जी,
एक्शन लीजिए.
नहीं बिल्कुल सही बात. सुहास, आपने पते की बात बोली दादा, पते की बात बोली. सुहास जी,
yes please.
Dada made it's a very pointed thing, Rajtantra or Loktantra. Rajtantra, did you hear him say Rajtantra and Loktantra? He said it very pointedly. He actually, in a way, he spoke in Hindi and elucidated the position of what's happening in Manipur.
यार हिंदी नहीं बोलूंगा तो मुल्क से निकाल देंगे यार.
नहीं ऐसा नहीं है. It's a multilingual society. No, it's not like that. It's multilingual. But Dada, before I go to Mr. Chakma, there's one thing which I want to ask. I was reading a book during weekend, and I had asked this to my previous colleague. This dislocation of people, it's not that it has happened for the first time in Northeast. Suhasji spoke about Bru dislocation. I was reading a chapter on Mizoram. Indian Army reorganized entire villages in Mizoram after 67-68 to combat Lal Denga. So this mayhem of dislocating people is a very sordid saga in Northeast.
Absolutely. But Suhas,
Suhasji, so it's not a...
No. Is he on the line?
Yes, he's on the line. He's on the line.
Yes. No, I think the only difference this time in Manipur is nowhere in India, including the Northeast, the government had sponsored the transfer of population from one side to another side. We have all seen the conflicts in Assam, ethnic conflicts in Mizoram, between Meghalaya and Assam borders. We have seen in Arunachal Pradesh, etc. But nowhere ever the government took the measures where they transferred population from one side to the other. And I think the biggest mistake which Mizoram government did, with the knowledge of the emperor, as the Subila says, that you have completed separation. So there are no cookies in the valley and there are no Métis in the hills. So this separation will have such significant effect because, as I had mentioned, once people go away from their lands, it is very difficult to come back. So the Kashmiri Pandits, with all the efforts of the government of India, all the finances of the government of India, have not been able to go back to Kashmir. Then we have the Brus who had fled from Mizoram on their own. Then they could not go back and finally they had to be settled in Tripura after a gap of 23 years. Now you, as a state authority, instead of establishing the authority of the state, you yourself had actually completed the separation of the population. And I do not see in the near future the Kukis coming back to the Métis areas and Métis going back to the Kuki areas. And Kukis have a substantial proportion of officials serving in the state administration because they have done academically very well as a community. So all those Kuki officials cannot join the service with the state government because there were incidents, even the MLS being beaten to death or, being beaten to pulp. And, there is no way a Kuki officer will feel the courage or will have the courage to go back to the secretariat of the state government. So first problem which Mizoram is facing, Manipur is facing, even if you are going to establish the normalcy, it is operating below level at this point of time because the cookies will not come back. So are you going to dismiss the Kuki officials who cannot come to the state secretariat? So you have to continuously pay them salaries just the way you pay the Kashmiri Pandits in Kashmir since the time they have been, displaced. So what kind of administration you have created and what kind of failed state you have created? So in one hand, they might have been able to create a situation where the chief minister survives, whether it will bring political benefits by the time state assembly elections takes place after, in 2023, 24 or 25, something, I forgot the exact year. Whether it brings political benefit to the BJP is a different issue. But what remains on the ground is that the population has been transferred, separation is complete, the secretariat, the bureaucrats are not going to go back. Meitei officials shall not be able to serve, including the police in the hills for a long period of time. That you have effectively divided Manipur between the hills and the valley. And the problem here is for the Manipur government, the Kukis are in between the Nagas and the Meiteis. So when the national highway is blocked by the Kukis, obviously Nagas are affected too. That might work as a leverage at some point of time because Kukis do not want to antagonize the Nagas. But please remember, you have separated the state, whether you like it or not. So Biren Singh might say, the till last drop of blood in my vein, I shall not allow to Manipur disintegrate. But frankly, your action and inaction actually have created the space or the need for separate administration. Because please remember, there are 12 MLAs from the Kuki community. And 12 MLAs today they are with the BJP. If they go on the other side, they can very much create tremendous amount of pressure in the state assembly. So how do you force people who are scared?
Actually, आपने बात सही की, Mr. Suhas. Dada, he's right. By an administrative action, you have created a separate administration. You have created a buffer zone. I mean to say, people say, ये तो आर्मी ने लिया, अरे आपने buffer zone बना के ही अलग कर दिया. Instead of getting them back, you have formalized a line.
No, this is a classic case. This Manipur crisis and the way it has unfolded is a classic case that what you do and create a situation to create something which you want to avoid. So you want to avoid separate administration in Manipur. You want to keep Manipur together. But by your very action, to win electoral support of the majority and to sustain electorally through majority support, you start behaving like a Meitei hero and not like a Manipur chief minister. And in the process, to create such a division of hearts and minds. In counterinsurgency, army guys are taught and we lecture them often how to win hearts and minds. When? WHAM. That's the critical thing. It's not the American, you go and beat the shit out of everybody. That doesn't work anywhere. In asymmetric warfare, that's why the Americans have lost every single asymmetric conflict since the Second World War, which was not an asymmetric but a straightforward war. So here in India, we try to sort of educate the army into executing WHAM, winning hearts and minds, civic action, this, that, connecting to the people, gaon buda log ko party lagao, all this stuff. Point is, in Manipur, the opposite has been done by the civil bureaucracy headed by the political executive. They don't want Manipur to disintegrate. It will be done over my dead body, says the chief minister. But by his very action, to reinforce his Meitei support base, there were dissidents within the party.
Correct.
People are going and camping in Delhi. And then you start playing this Meitei majoritarian card so that even Delhi cannot dare to remove you. So by your very action, you become a Meitei hero, but you seem to be a Manipur chief minister. And as a result of your action, you create such a division of hearts and minds that you are actually creating the ground for separate administration, even as you are thumping your chest and shouting at the top of your voice, Manipur ko do tukra, teen tukra nahi hone dunga. It will have to happen over my dead body. So this is a classic case of the compulsions of electoral democracy, where BJP blames Congress for minority vote bank creation. This is also vote bank creation, sir. They're trying to consolidate a Hindutva-driven native vote bank and neglecting tribal issues, and actually seeing the seed for the ultimate, or for the disintegration of Manipur. So exactly what you don't want, and you say publicly, we don't want disintegration of Manipur. By your action, you create a ground where you drive the state towards that kind of a prospect, down that kind of a road. And why? Because for you, electoral considerations staying in power is bigger than doing effective governance. चुनाव जीतते हैं. You ask any of these people, ये है वो है, नहीं रहा, वो चुनाव कैसे जीते?
Okay.
अरे चुनाव जीतना और सरकार चलाना और रात गर्म करना.
No, that is, I completely, there have been number of articles also been written on this. This electoral democracy, elections and run up to the locks. Yes, absolutely. Suhaji, 30 seconds before I have to introduce the news.
No, just to compliment what Subida had said, even you become a hero like Rajapakse, Mahinda Rajapakse, you defeat your arch enemy LTT, people's memory is very short.
Oh,
and that's
very
what
beautifully
I think
put.
Biren Singh is forgetting that fact, that if you become a Meitei hero, he will be forgotten in 3 months' time. That's the reality. And
Okay, I think that's very beautiful. That's very beautifully put, Just for our viewers, Mahinda Rajapakse represented the largest Sinhala pride. His politics rested on Sinhala pride. It was less egalitarian in nature. It was less about the other communities in Sri Lanka. And what we witnessed in Sri Lanka was that the people took over. It completely paralyzed the political system. People went inside the President House. Mr. Rajapakse had to take a navy ship and disappear for 30 days. And because in Sri Lanka, it is the responsibility of the security to take care of the president. And that sort of a politics completely crumbled. Half of his family is now out of politics. Before that, half of his immediate family were cabinet members. So I think that's a larger story we need to remember. And let us run those visuals. Full screen of governor. Full screen. Let's go full screen. Governor meeting children in the camps and trying to bring healing touch. Governor of Manipur trying to bring a healing touch. I hope other lawmakers also do that publicly. And instead of going to, and the best example would be serve which Mahatma Gandhi did in his lifetime. Don't go to your community, go to other people's community and serve them, and vice versa.
Gautam Adani, one of the richest men in the world, or a business honcho, accused of manipulating the market.
अदानी जी 609 नंबर से दूसरे नंबर तक कैसे पहुंचे? सिर्फ एक सवाल पूछा, नरेंद्र मोदी जी, आपका अदानी जी से रिश्ता क्या है?
He has given the space, the railways, the airport, which he has no experience also. So the country's interest has been compromised.
Government has been very clearly supporting few industrial groups, including Adani's industrial group.
Target Adani, streaming now.
But you know what they say, right? Teamwork makes the dream work. This adage is as true for the corporate boardroom as it is on a football field. And in both contexts, the ability to collaborate towards a shared goal is critical. Now, in a corporate setting, teamwork involves cooperation to improve a company's organizational bottom line. Be it a high-stakes project or day-to-day tasks, working alongside your teammate is essential.
Helps you in a lot of ways when you are in the boardroom as well as when you're on the ground. One of the most important things is teamwork. Okay, in whatever situations you are, good situations or difficult situations, especially difficult situations, you start getting along with each other so well because you want to achieve that target, that goal, which is the objective of the organization or of the team, to win or to come out good or to deliver what your customers want. And here, what in sports, whatever your fans want.
I not believe in a leadership, I believe in a passion. Whatever you did, follow your passion and your love should be with your work.
Well, so what makes a successful team? It's the dedication and ability to chase a shared goal. It involves not just playing to each person's strengths, but effective communication, quick decisions, trust, and supporting each other through challenges.
It's important that you start as kid to do sports to get a mental balance. And it's the same if you're working, it's even more important to do this. You learn so many things in sports which are important for your life as well for your business life. So you're working in a team, in a football team, you're working in a job in a team. You learn leadership, you learn defeats, you learn success and wins.
As you keep on building, go to the next level, the performances become difficult. It is all about how well you prepare, how well you plan, and then it's all about the execution. So whichever field you go, corporate level or sports, as you climb the ladder, things become very, very difficult, very tough, and those challenges you have to face, and you can get positive results, as I said, if you plan well, if you train well, and if you execute well. So that all is required.
I think you have to learn that there are not only wins in your life, that there are also losses in your life, and you have to learn to go with this, that you not give up, that you must stand up again. That's the most important lesson with a child you have to do, and it's the same for sport.
Bridges, roads, and tunnels. This is how India is countering China's Himalayan challenge. The Himalayas, world's tallest mountains, snow covered through the year, breathing is tough here. But the work never stops. 3 years after the deadly Galwan clashes, India has doubled the pace of infrastructure creation on the border. India's Border Road Organization is accomplishing mission impossible, creating infrastructure to secure us from our foes across the Himalayas. And we start at a disadvantage when we want to deter the dragon. For India, it's an uphill task, even as the enemy is perched comfortably on a plateau.
We are on the Himalayas. From zero, you are going up to a level of say 16,000 feet, 17,000 feet, 18,000 feet above sea level. Our passes are even higher than that. Our posts are even higher than that. Look at China. They don't have to climb up like us. Once they are on the Tibetan plateau, the construction work, the maintenance work, everything is fairly easy.
On 5th May 2020, Indian and Chinese troops eyeballed each other in Ladakh. This was after PLA troops had tried to intrude into Indian territory. The conflict escalated and ended with 20 Indian soldiers being martyred in Galwan.
Galwan was the deadliest skirmish between India and China in 45 years. India responded by building border infrastructure on a war footing. Roads to India's borders have doubled in the last 3 years. And these roads allow faster movement of troops, supplies, and vehicles to the border.
Of course, due to Galwan, there was a strategic compulsion to increase the pace of infrastructure. That was the main trigger.
News 9 Plus. Download now. China won't let us rest easy on our borders, but they will keep flooding our markets. What does Xi Jinping really want?
I think he wants the Indian market, no doubt about it. It's really a matter of showing their dominance.
India's great Chinese conundrum.
Nobody can contain it. Not the United States, not China, not anybody else.
Frenemies. Streaming now. BrahMos. Stealthy, lethal, precise. It flies at 3 times the speed of sound and cuts through a warship like a hot knife through butter. China's navy has threatened its neighbors, and they are turning to the BrahMos for protection. The Warship Killer. This and more streaming on world's first news OTT, News 9 Plus. Download now.
Vanakkam, Namaskaram, you're watching News 9 live. Look at this, we're in a new setting. Look at this, this is almost like you and I speaking in the drawing room. So bring all your cups of coffee because I only do a show on the South Indian, and guess what? In this new setting, I'm saying one thing to you very clearly. We will not shout, we will not fight. Even if we do, we will do it very politely, and I'm going to wait for you the day when you can come sit next to me and have a chat with me like one-on-one. So let's talk about the top story today that I'm going to bring you from the south of India. You know, every good thing sometimes gets into a bad thing, but that doesn't mean that is the end of it all. Yes, Karnataka had a fabulous victory and the only win, mind you, ladies and gents, in South India. But the sheen is kind of wearing off swiftly and surely due to constant bickering between Siddaramaiah, who is the Chief Minister, and D.K. Shivakumar, who is the Deputy Chief Minister. It's very clear that there are two camps. Now, the latest man in focus is senior MLA B.R. Patil, and who had allegedly, guess what, threatened to resign during the recent Congress Legislative Party meeting, which is a CLP meeting, citing a very important phrase, which is very important to all of us, self-respect. There was much drama which unfolded with Patil actually walking out of the meeting, and then apparently he was coaxed back into it to say, "Sir, please sir, come back sir." It all started when a letter allegedly signed by 30 legislators was sent to Chief Minister Siddaramaiah, claiming that district in charge ministers were not paying heed to their requests and their funds allocated for their respective constituencies were not being released. Now, in another shocking claim, the letter mentioned unidentified third parties approaching the MLAs asking for commissions to facilitate the release of funds. Please understand that the word commission is like a red rag to a bull, because remember what happened with the 40% commission allegation of the Congress against the erstwhile BJP government. Now, let's listen to what B.R. Patil had to say, and I will come back to the story in a bit.
ನಾನು ಕೂಡ ಮಾಧ್ಯಮದಲ್ಲಿ ಇದನ್ನು ಗಮನಿಸಿದೆ ಮತ್ತು ಪತ್ರಿಕೆಯಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ವರದಿಯಾಗಿದೆ. ನಿನ್ನೆ ಯಾರು ಕ್ಷಮೆ ಕೇಳಿದಾರೋ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ, ನಾನಂತೂ ಕ್ಷಮೆ ಕೇಳಿಲ್ಲ, ಕೇಳಲ್ಲ. ಈಗ ಕ್ಷಮೆ ಕೇಳೋದಕ್ಕೆ ನಾವೇನು ಅಪರಾಧ ಮಾಡಿದೀವ? ನಾವೇನು ಅಂತ ದೊಡ್ಡ ತಪ್ಪು ಮಾಡಿದೀವ? ನಮ್ಮ ಪಕ್ಷದಲ್ಲಿ ಆಂತರಿಕ ಪ್ರಜಾಪ್ರಭುತ್ವ ಇದೆ. ಶಾಸಕಾಂಗ ಪಕ್ಷದ ಸಭೆ ಕರೆಯಬೇಕನ್ನುವಂಥ ಹಕ್ಕು ನಮ್ಮದಿದೆ. ಆ ಪ್ರಕಾರ ನಾಯಕರು ಕರೆದಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಆ ಸಭೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಮುಖ್ಯವಾಗಿ ಚರ್ಚೆ ಆಗಿದೆ. ನಮಗೆ ಸಮಾಧಾನವಾಗಿದೆ. ನನ್ನ ಆತ್ಮಗೌರವಕ್ಕೆ ಧಕ್ಕೆ ಬಂದ ತಕ್ಷಣ ಬಂದರೆ ನನ್ನ ರಾಜೀನಾಮೆಯನ್ನು ಬಿಸಾಕಿ ನಾನು ಮನೆಗೆ ಹೋಗ್ತೀನಿ ಅಂತ ಮಾತನ್ನು ಹೇಳಿದ್ದೀನಿ. ಯಾವ ಕಾರಣಕ್ಕೆ?
Fine. So he said, listen, there was no reason for me to apologize. Fair enough. He said it out clearly. But about the letter, you know, there was some confusion. B.R. Patil first said that the letter was fake, and it seemed the matter was put to rest, that everything is hunky-dory, we can all move on with our lives. But not so soon. The senior leader admitted that he had threatened to resign during the meeting, as you just heard B.R. Patil say, but he added that he did not, or rather would not, apologize for writing a letter to the Chief Minister highlighting his concerns. Some of the statements made by B.R. Patil. I too have seen media and newspaper reports. I don't know who has apologized. I have not apologized, nor will I. Have we committed any crime to apologize? Or have we made a mistake? That's what B.R. Patil said. You know, a kind of almost like the inner voice coming out to say this. Now, the behavior and conduct of certain ministers has upset some legislators. That is what B.R. Patil said, as he warned that their fight would continue if it is not corrected. So, look at it, there is a problem. We can go blue in the face saying, no, everything is fine, but there is a problem. Now, apparently, Home Minister G. Parameswara had stated that those who wrote letters to the Chief Minister had apologized at the CLP meeting. But what did Patil say? No apology. Patil also added, there is internal democracy in our party. We have the right to request a legislature party meeting. Accordingly, leaders have called for the meeting. There was open and detailed discussion in the meeting, and I am satisfied, but I am not a coward to apologize. If I had committed any mistake, I would have apologized. Now, when he was asked, you know, that by my colleagues, if he had offered to quit, B.R. Patil said, I said one thing at one time, that if my inner self-respect is hurt, I will throw my resignation and go. The behavior and conduct of certain ministers as certain legislators, I don't know whether Chief Minister has advised them, that is the ministers, or not. If their behavior is not right, our fight against it will be there. Now, let me tell you, this isn't the first time that the newly minted government and also the party in Karnataka has seen open rebellion, and this after the party took oath. Will it slide to a big showdown, or does Siddaramaiah have it in him to quell the rebellion? Let me also add one thing. If you look at it in the south right now, there is problem brewing in Telangana. Revant Reddy has to quell the rebellion. In Kerala, tomorrow they are all going to be in New Delhi, because they are also very miffed that no decision has been taken about, let's say, Wayanad and also Thiruvananthapuram. So, big question mark. Congress is kind of finding itself in a bit of a shaky position. And also, coming back to Karnataka, you remember the time when D.K. Shivakumar had said, when all these MLAs had gone to D.K. Shivakumar, he had said, no money for development, we have to fulfill the guarantee. Just hear what he said, and I'll come back to you.
ಯಾವ ಲೆಟ್ರ್ ಅವೆಲ್ಲ ಬೋಗಸ್ ಅಮ್ಮ. ಯಾರು ಯಾರ್ದೋ ಲೆಟ್ರ್ ಪ್ಯಾಡ್ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ಯಾವುದೋ ಬೇರೆ ಸಿಗ್ನೇಚರ್ನ ಆ್ಯಡ್ ಮಾಡಿಬಿಟ್ಟು ಕೊಟ್ಟರೆ ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಲೆಕ್ಕನ ಅದು. ಅವರೆಲ್ಲ ರೆಸ್ಪಾನ್ಸಿಬಲ್ ಜನ. ಅವರು MLAs ಮೀಟಿಂಗ್ ಕೇಳಿದ ನಿಜ. ನಾವು ಕೆಲವು ವಿಚಾರಗಳನ್ನ ಚರ್ಚೆ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ನಾವು ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಫೈನಾನ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ಇಶ್ಯೂಸ್ನ ಅವ್ರ ಹತ್ರ ಡಿಸ್ಕಸ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಯಾಕೆಂದರೆ 40,000 ಕೋಟಿ ರೂಪಾಯಿ ನಾವು ಈಗ ಇಡಬೇಕಾಗಿದೆ. ಡೆವಲಪ್ಮೆಂಟು ಈ ವರ್ಷ ನಾವು ಕೊಡೋಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ. ನಾನು ಇರಿಗೇಷನ್ ಇಲಾಖೆಯಲ್ಲೂ ಕೊಡೋಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ, PWD ಕೊಡೋಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ. ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟೇಷನ್ ಭಾಳ ಇದೆ ಇದಕ್ಕೆ. ಸೊ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ವೆಯ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ವಿ. ನಾವೆಲ್ಲ ಶಾಸಕಾಂಗ ಪಕ್ಷದ ಸಭೆ ಕರೆದು ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ಲೈನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ ಪರಿಸ್ಥಿತಿ. ಮುಖ್ಯಮಂತ್ರಿಗಳು ಹೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಬಜೆಟ್ ಮಾಡೋಂಥ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಮಂತ್ರಿಗಳಿಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಅವರು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ತಾಳ್ಮೆಯಿಂದ ಇರಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಮಂತ್ರಿಗಳಿಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅವರವ್ರ ಇಲಾಖೆ ಮಂತ್ರಿಗಳಿಗೆ ನೀವು, ಯಾಕೆಂದರೆ ಹಳೆ ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟು ದಿವಾಳಿ ಮಾಡಿಬಿಟ್ಟಿದೆ. ಓಲ್ಡ್ ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ದಿವಾಳಿ ಮಾಡಿಬಿಟ್ಟು ಟೆಂಡರ್ಗಳನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಕರೆದು ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟು ಬೊಕ್ಕಸನೇ ಖಾಲಿ ಮಾಡಿದೆ. ನಾವು ಕೊಟ್ಟ ಮಾತನ್ನು ಉಳಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಬೇಕು, ಗ್ಯಾರಂಟಿನ ಉಳಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಬೇಕು. ಅದನ್ನು ಮೊದಲನೇ ವರ್ಷವೇ ನಾವು ಉಳಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋಂಥ ಕೆಲಸ ನಾವು ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ತಾಳ್ಮೆಯಿಂದ ಇರಲೇಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಆದ್ದರಿಂದ ನಾವು ಶಾಸಕಾಂಗ ಪಕ್ಷದ ಸಭೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಶಾಸಕರಿಗೆ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ತಿಳಿಸ್ತೇವೆ. ಬೇರೆ ಎಮರ್ಜೆನ್ಸಿ ಏನಿದೆ ಖಂಡಿತ ನಾವು ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ.
So in this wonderful ambience, which is absolutely new, with my coffee mug in my hand, considering I am a South Indian, so it's always coffee over tea, let me now welcome the other guests to the room. Lieutenant Commander retired Gokul Chandra, who's a Congress leader, is joining us. Bansi Kalappa, political editor, the New Indian Express, is joining us from Bengaluru, and Dr. Baswaraj Itnal, who's a senior journalist, is also joining us, and also my colleague Bhaskar Hegde, who's editor TV9 Kannada, has joined us. So all of you gentlemen, you know, your coffees, I hope it's hot and brewing. This is a new studio, it's a new day. Imagine, first day, first show, all of you. So I'm so happy to see all of you.
Sudha, best of luck. It looks very nice, the studio interiors.
Thank you, Bhaskar. You being my colleague will always be loyal to me, but I would request the others also. Dr. Itnal, Gokul, you're a friend, and Bansi, you're also a friend. You know, I think we need all your wishes, and we need nice, good debates, not fighting, shouting, wagging finger and all that. Not allowed when we are all South Indians and, you know, gotten together here. So let me begin with Bansi. Bansi, is there, it's clear indication, the dissent within Karnataka and both the government and the party is something which is there out in the open. Whether it is big or small, time will tell, Bansi. But don't you think it is very much there?
See, if you look at the legislators, the identities of the legislators, then you will understand why there is the scent of trouble brewing.
Okay.
B.R. Patil from Aland is a Lingayat legislator. Basuraj Rai Reddy. So the entire chunk of those 11 legislators, most of them are all Veerashaiva Lingayat legislators. Now, Veerashaiva Lingayat legislators normally in this number has never been in the Congress. So that is, you know, a fact that all of us need to know. So mostly they have been with the Bharatiya Janata Party. Only recently they have, you know, in this number they have come to the Congress. This is simply because you know, Congress earlier never enjoyed so much of support from the Veerashaiva Lingayat legislators. So this time they have record numbers of Veerashaiva Lingayat legislators. So this is the first sign of trouble, number one. Number two, the stand being taken by B.R. Patil that there is no need to apologize. You know, why should I apologize? This is the second reason why, you know, the Congress needs to take note. Number three, someone of the stature of Siddaramaiah coming out in the open and saying that, you know, I couldn't make time for legislators because I was busy, number one, with budget meetings for so many days, and number two, I was busy with the opposition leaders meeting in Bangalore. So he says it in a note to the media, and he also says it in the CLP.
Okay.
Number three. Number four, the Congress leaders in the CLP, in the hastily called Congress Legislature Party, the Congress leaders saying after the meeting, you know, when they spoke to the media, that those who wrote letters, they apologized. I really don't know who's apologized, because they, in the beginning, the Congress statement was that, you know, that there is, the whole thing is a fake.
Right.
But later on,
yeah, that's what I also
know.
Bansi, that's what I said, that it looks, this is very strange. First you say, oh, it's all fake, everything. Then he walks out, apparently, he's brought back. After all, we are all, you know, I have Bhaskar here, we have a very, very, you know, good bureau in Karnataka. Then they say, no, I did not apologize, this, that and the other. So what does it show? There is a lack of leadership also, no?
No. So in all this, you know, this is the first sign of trouble, because we have seen in the past, when, let's say, when coalition government was there, whenever a group of legislators were unhappy, it meant the government came down. So this time, of course, those ominous signs are not there as yet. But, you know, these are not things to be ignored, because Karnataka has seen, you know, on occasions when a group of legislators are unhappy, they can go out, they can just resign en masse, you know, leaving the government in a lurch, or, you know, bringing about a crisis. So all these ingredients showing that Congress needs to, you know, take care before it is too late. Because let's understand that Congress has come to power in, as a single biggest party.
Yeah,
with
that's
such
right. Yeah, that's
huge
right.
number.
Yeah, so I think they will spoil a very good thing, Bansi, a fabulous victory, and after that, one has seen this, little kind of skirmishes which keep happening, and like we say, why spoil a good thing? Dr. Itnal, what Bansi said, they are not used to this working of the Congress. I am asking you, but if you've come from the BJP, Dr. Itnal, that's a cadre-based party. Can you imagine walking out, walking in, saying I didn't apologize, writing a letter, then saying it's a fake letter, going to the media and say I will not apologize. The behavior somehow, after all, politicians are also human beings, They may think they are demigods, but they are human beings. But don't you think that their behavior itself shows that there is somewhere the leadership is not able to kind of put a lid on all these things? Because BJP, you cannot behave like this, doctor.
Sudha, it has happened in BJP also.
Right.
For example, if you recall what Yatnal was saying against his own BJP government, the kind of allegations he was saying that if anybody can pay 2,500 crore rupees, he can be made CM. That's the kind of attack Yatnal used to do. And that party also did not know anything about him. BJP is yet to take action on anybody who was talking against Bommai government or Yediyurappa government and who were talking out of the hat during election campaign. BJP has not done it. So it is not limited only to Congress. Yes, Congress is facing a substantial kind of crisis here, in the sense that there is a conflict at a fundamental level here, in the sense that the party came to power on a huge promise of guarantees.
Right.
Now the Siddaramaiah himself says in CLP meeting to his legislator that please don't ask any grants to your constituency. We have to take care of guarantee schemes, which takes up a substantial portion of the budget allocations. And then there is also it is known fact that many departments employees are yet to receive salary. For last 3 months they have not received salaries, including education department.
Yeah.
So now, such being the case, the problem is the one thing, the Congress party came to power on certain promises.
Right.
That's a larger picture.
Okay.
But individual MLA also, each and every MLA also would have said something in his constituency, that I will make this road, that I will make this bridge, that I will bring this much money for a college, or something like that.
Exactly.
So what happens? So how can a political party ignore what the MLA has told to his constituents?
100%. After all, you are sitting there for the people. No. You're sitting there for the people only. You can't just say brush aside and say first some. That was my doctor. Let me come back to you. I'll go to Bhaskar. Bhaskar, look at it. When I say dissent in Karnataka, whether it is the party or the Congress or the government, Bhaskar, it all started when a few MLAs went to DKS and said, "Sir, we need money, sir, because we have to do developmental work." He said, "There is no money. There is no money. We have to fulfill guarantees." Then Siddaramaiah says, "Be patient." CLP meetings called because of this letter and the little skirmishes which were brewing. The thing is, don't you think that then the BR Patil thing happens? So don't you think if they had quelled it right in the beginning, see, they are speaking in folk tongue, Siddaramaiah says something, DKS says something else. So don't you think that there is no unison? They are not speaking in the same voice, Bhaskar Hegde?
Sudha, I think it is not going to die down so soon. Okay. I agree with one point that Bansi said and the other point that Basuraj said. Bansi raised a very interesting observation, made an interesting observation that all these MLAs are from one particular committee. That is right. And Bansi stopped at that point. I think, see, they are targeting Priyank Kharge. Priyank Kharge is not an ordinary minister.
True.
First of all, he is the son of AICC President Mallikarjun Kharge. And why they are targeting Priyank Kharge is a very interesting thing. It is not because it is Lingayat versus scheduled caste. It is because it looks like there are 2 points. One is when there is no fund, then the problem happens because these MLAs have to deliver, they have to sort the local problems, and for that they need the help of officers. of their choice. But unfortunately, all these ministers, they seem to have denied or refused to transfer and get the officers of their choice. That means MLA's choice to their consciences. My question is, even if they got their officers of their choice to their consciency, if there is no fund, why would they do? What would they do? Or perhaps only they can show their power as MLA, except that there is no development. This way, therefore, my point is this particular dissent or unhappiness is going to grow day by day, every passing day, number one. So coming back to that old point of Priyank Kharge, it looks like Priyank Kharge wants to emulate his father's strategy, what he did in the 90s, in the sense, after Virendra Patil, who is a Lingayat who passed away in 1991, so there was a vacuum in Kalyan, Karnataka. What Kharge did, Kharge and Dharam Singh, they totally captured in the sense, not in literal sense, they captured the political space. They did not allow any Lingayat leaders to grow. As a result, they ruled the roost for 30 years. I think because of being a son of ACC president and being made the senior minister now from Kalyan, Karnataka, I think Priyank Kharge might be eyeing to suppress the voices of Lingayat community. By doing so, he wants to emerge as a Kalyan Karnataka champion.
Sure,
but because he's very young.
Yeah.
So that is one point. I think that is the reason why he is planning to emerge as a leader, which is basically a sticking point.
Yeah,
and
but
which in the present circumstances, they are not going to digest his
but then the thing is, sure, that you have little power, powerful leaders who are trying to emerge and kind of, run away with whatever little power they have. But look at the public perception, look at the perception of the opposition. Both Dr. Itnal and you have said, and even Pansi said to a great extent, all of you have said that, listen, this is not something which is there and which will go away. And therefore, I will pick Gokul Chandran. Gokul Chandran, fabulous victory. The only one in the south of India, almost, everyone went to town saying BJP, Mukt South India and all that. Very good. But look at the situation today, people walking in and out of meetings. Look at what is happening in Kerala, considering you are from Kerala. Tomorrow they are all going to be, in New Delhi. There is also problem brewing. Telangana, Revant Reddy is facing several faces who want to be, I want to be Mukhyamantri. Karnataka, what is the what is this kind of speaking in a forked tongue? I think the beginning itself has been very, very faulty. DKS or Siddaramaiah? Siddaramaiah or DKS? Your comments, Gokul Chandran.
Yeah, good evening, Sudha. And
hi.
Look, the studio looks very nice and
thank
beautiful. Coming to the topic, see, right from the day the Karnataka results were out, the media and the so-called sources were waiting that Congress will not form the government, BJP is going to form the government, and at some point when Congress formed the government, they couldn't digest the fact that Congress has finally formed the government in Karnataka, and again they pitted DKS versus Siddaramaiah, who is going to form the government, who is going to be the chief minister. Again, it was sorted out, and again the media sources couldn't resist themselves from putting the government on an edge. Each and every time the Karnataka government is pushed to an edge, the Damocles sword is being placed under their head that it should be heard them anytime. This is the simple reason what is happening in Karnataka. If and only BJP had appointed a leader of opposition in the assembly, even after the assembly session was over, we could have heard from BJP official point of view what they want. Even they couldn't find a leader of opposition for the BJP.
What is Gokul?
Now,
it is like saying that I am fighting with my spouse, it is because the neighbor has instigated. Then there is something very, very wrong between the relationship between my husband and I, which of course we fight a lot. Let me honestly say it on national television. To say because of the neighbor, that seems, kind of implausible, gentlemen. It is not the BJP, I say. It is what is happening within the party. Gokul.
Yeah, I will tell you. I will tell you, Sudha. I will complete it. See, this house is a happy house. As you admitted, We will have fights between spouses, children, father, mother, grandparents. The fight is going to be there because the happy, big, huge house. Everybody has, it is a joint family staying in one house, and you know what are problems will be arising. Mr. M.B. Patil had a valid reason, might be. He raised the concerns on behalf of few MLAs.
Right.
It has been talked upon, they have sorted it out, and it will keep on arising. See, what Mr. Subramania Swamy is telling for the last 3 years, he is a senior BJP leader and a BJP MP of Rajya Sabha, and he is daily criticizing the Modi government in a very, very
What has that got to do with the price of onions, Gokul? Come on, we are not going, we are going hither and thither.
I hope we are not discussing the prices of onion and tomatoes. The other thing, the Kerala, each and every state, PCC is being invited to Delhi to talk about the possible Lok Sabha coalitions, the seats who is going to contest and all those things. That's how the Kerala leaders also been invited to Delhi.
Yeah, but then Wayanad and Thiruvananthapuram, I'll come back to you. Bansi, I want to bring you here. We heard what Hari Prasad, BK Hari Prasad, very senior leader, had to say. Of course, he was also talking to his own community. I don't want to go into caste politics here. But he said, I have seen it, I have this with me. He said, I know how to make CM and how to bring him down. I do not beg from anyone. I shall stand with my chest. Becoming a minister is a different question. He said it, I will not beg someone. Look at the words that are being used. I will not apologize. We are not beggars. So all this, also Bansi, I think that there is an emotional outburst because somewhere, all these leaders have felt very cheated. They may have their own axe to grind. Like Bhaskar said, they all have their own agendas. But things are not looking good. And I think somewhere, I do not know, you should tell me, we all know there are two camps. Aren't there two camps now in the party and the government? One is a DKS camp and one is a Siddaramaiah camp. So too many cooks are spoiling the, the sambar, as they say.
Okay, see, if you look at the government and the statement of Mr. B.K. Hari Prasad. Who is Mr. B.K. Hari Prasad? Quickly, let's understand that he's been AICC General Secretary for 16 states. He's also served as AICC Secretary for 4 states, which means, he at one time he was one of the most powerful leader. Of course, it's another issue that he did not take any ministerial position in Delhi, which he well could have. He always chose party above the government.
Right.
So, this is the person we're talking about. Now, where is he? He is MLC. He is only a legislative council member.
Right.
Earlier, he was opposition leader in the legislative council, and he had earned a lot of appreciation from his own partymen, especially in leading the party in the council, where at one time they were in a minority. So, this is the person we're talking of. He belongs to a community in the backward caste, which is called Idiga community. They are there in Kerala and in Tamil Nadu and Andhra Pradesh. These Idiga community, they are called Bilavas in Mangaluru.
Yeah.
And if I'm not wrong, it's an OBC community, very similar to the Kerala communities. They have a counterpart in Kerala also. They all go with the spiritual leadership of Narayan Guru. So what am I saying? This Hari Prasad was seeking to be a minister in the Siddaramaiah cabinet.
I know, but yeah.
But when his leadership, claims were overlooked, and they took a much younger man. Hari Prasad is in his late 60s.
Right.
And a man almost 30 years his junior. Someone who's a former chief minister, Bangarappa's son, Madhu Bangarappa, who's a two-term legislator. Someone who moved from the ADS to the Congress. So when they chose him, Hari Prasad was upset.
Yeah.
And it's true that he was talking of different things like leaving the party,
So, no, Bansi, I'm sorry to interject, but what it's proving everything right. No, I mean, we are talking about dissent in Karnataka Congress. Somewhere the Congress in Karnataka, despite being a leading light, because let's understand, even in the opposition meet that INDIA India, they were the leading lights. They were the ones who put their foot forward, but it is all coming, every day if you have fights like this, then obviously the government's it's not just politics, Bansi, it's about governing, it's about administering. Somewhere their hands will be completely tied if this is what is going to happen. You know, and let me go to Dr. Itnal. Dr. Itnal, the thing is what Bansi said about Hari Prasad, what he explained very well about, you know, and also Bhaskar, my colleague, explained about Priyank Karge. All that is fine, Dr. Itnal. The point is, you and I, on the day of the election results, we discussed about how there will be problems between DKS and Siddaramaiah, because DKS's brother, DK Suresh, we heard those bites, you know, we heard that toing and froing. My whole point is this, sir, that if you've become the kind of symbol or the mascot for the Congress win in South India, this does not behave well, and this does not give a great indication that things are good.
Absolutely. So the problem is, let's understand it in two dimensions. Number one, this India alliance doesn't have a pan-India narrative to begin with. Their pan-India narrative is to bring down Modi.
Right.
I don't think that's going to be very effective, because that's not going to bring any BJP vote towards you. So unless you have a strategy to cut down BJP vote share, there is no chance there. So they don't have a pan-India narrative. They come together only for the sake of elections. They did not, they did not offer a united opposition in the parliament for last 4 years. They have just now come together in the aftermath of Karnataka success.
Right.
Now coming back to Karnataka success, now Karnataka has a very strong Congress, Pradesh Congress Committee, but at times, so to say in philosophical terms, strength itself can be weakness many times.
Sure.
Now, these people are so strong, Siddaramaiah or DK Shivakumar or Kharge or Parmeshwar, these people, and when they start fighting among themselves, even on a small issue or a big issue, they will not climb down. It becomes a prestige issue. And added to that, Congress Central High Command today is totally ineffective in managing the dissent. Look at Rajasthan.
Yes.
They have failed in managing
absolutely. Yeah. Yes.
So,
absolutely.
And such being the scenario, I don't know if the Congress doesn't pull up and put its act together, they're not really, going anywhere in 2020 predictions.
Yeah, you know what Dr. Itnal said, ladies and gentlemen, all I'm saying is what he said. The thing is that after a fabulous victory and also the Bharat Jodo Yatra, it changed some minds. It created a groundswell for the Congress. I'm not talking about Rahul Gandhi here, I'm talking about the Congress party. After doing all this, if this is how they are going to fritter it away, then it's a pity. No one is jubilant here. It's a pity. Somewhere their smartness is not coming through. I'm going to go to Bhaskar Hegde, my colleague, but before that, I'm going to ask my colleagues in production to please play Patil's bite yet again. Look at the angst, look at the frustration of this man, and this may grow into a chorus like Bansi Kalappa said, my colleague in the fraternity. But listen to what he had to say.
ನಾನು ಕೂಡ ಮಾಧ್ಯಮದಲ್ಲಿ ಇದನ್ನು ಗಮನಿಸಿದೆ ಮತ್ತು ಪತ್ರಿಕೆಯಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ವರದಿಯಾಗಿದೆ ನಿನ್ನೆ. ಯಾರು ಕ್ಷಮೆ ಕೇಳಿದಾರೋ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ, ನಾನಂತೂ ಕ್ಷಮೆ ಕೇಳಿಲ್ಲ, ಕೇಳಲ್ಲ. ಈಗ ಕ್ಷಮೆ ಕೇಳೋದಕ್ಕೆ ನಾವೇನು ಅಪರಾಧ ಮಾಡಿದೀವ? ನಾವೇನು ಅಂತ ದೊಡ್ಡ ತಪ್ಪು ಮಾಡಿದೀವ? ನಮ್ಮ ಪಕ್ಷದಲ್ಲಿ ಆಂತರಿಕ ಪ್ರಜಾಪ್ರಭುತ್ವ ಇದೆ. ಶಾಸಕಾಂಗ ಪಕ್ಷದ ಸಭೆ ಕರಿಬೇಕನ್ನುವಂಥ ಹಕ್ಕು ನಮ್ಮದಿದೆ. ಆ ಪ್ರಕಾರ ನಾಯಕರು ಕರೆದಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಆ ಸಭೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಮುಖ್ಯವಾಗಿ ಚರ್ಚೆ ಆಗಿದೆ, ನಮಗೆ ಸಮಾಧಾನವಾಗಿದೆ. ನನ್ನ ಆತ್ಮಗೌರವಕ್ಕೆ ಧಕ್ಕೆ ಬಂದ ತಕ್ಷಣ ಬಂದರೆ ನನ್ನ ರಾಜೀನಾಮೆಯನ್ನು ಬಿಸಾಕಿ ನಾನು ಮನೆಗೆ ಹೋಗ್ತೀನಿ ಅಂತ ಮಾತನ್ನು ಹೇಳಿದ್ದೀನಿ. ಯಾವ ಕಾರಣಕ್ಕೆ?
Bhaskar, we saw the 5 guarantees, and of course 5 guarantees was very impressive. The people of Karnataka were perhaps very impressed by what they had announced. But see what Annabhagya happened. From rice it turned to cash. Of course, Griha Lakshmi has started, but then that also had some logistical and process driven problems. I am only talking about the nitty gritty because God lies in details, Bhaskar. Siddaramaiah had promised monthly meetings with MLAs. which was a promise which was made to address their grievances. There are also sources which are telling us, that, of course, who's my source? You are my source. That the chief minister also promised, appointing MLAs to 50% of post of boards and corporations, etc. The thing is, what happened to those meetings, Bhaskar? Otherwise, why would these MLAs go? Where I'm not saying, was there a letter? I'm not the police, but if you do not fulfill these things, then obviously the MLAs will be very miffed, no, Bhaskar?
So what Chief Minister said about this particular meeting with MLAs once a month or once a quarter, there will be one more sticking point, because Congress central leadership has suggested to set up a coordination committee.
Okay.
That coordination committee will oversee and guide Chief Minister Siddaramaiah on policy matters. Basically, coordination committee means there will be one more layer of oversight being set up by the Congress High Command, so that Chief Minister or Deputy Chief Minister should not take decisions on their own. This is exactly in contrast with what Siddaramaiah used to do in 2013. 2013, Congress High Command, 2013 Congress was in power. Congress lost power only in 2014. And Congress was very much in control of things in 2013. They gave total control everything to Siddaramaiah, and Siddaramaiah was a total, he was in total control of administration and party in 2014. And 2014, you remember, Parmeshwar was PCC president, and he was very pliable. He was not DK Shivkumar. Now, the major problem is Siddaramaiah is slightly weak, and Congress High Command is very weak, as Basuraj said, and they can't take decisions on these kind of issues.
Right.
And on the other side, legislators are extremely ambitious. They want things to be done in 1 or 2 or 3 months. They don't want to listen to any kind of excuses of fund shortage or whatever. So therefore, I think this crisis is going to intensify further in the days to come.
Gokul, what Bhaskar said, what Dr. Itnal said, and you've heard Bansi also. The thing is, the Lok Sabha elections is knocking at our door. There is hardly any time. The MLAs, if they are unable to fulfill all the developmental work, that word Vikas, the Congress laughed out loud and said, what Vikas, where is Vikas, he is invisible and all that. The thing is, developmental work, whether it's trains or bridges or roads or homes or whatever, it's a major problem. And what Bhaskar said, Siddaramaiah is not the Siddaramaiah of 2013. He is weak. The Congress High Command wanted Siddaramaiah in place. Maybe they wanted someone pliable. I do not know. But don't you think it's harakiri on the part of the Congress in Karnataka not to be able to fulfill all the developmental work? You and I get so irritated if the plumber doesn't arrive, Gokul. I am only thinking of myself. I mean, what is this? We need to fulfill all the work. No, this is the people. These are the people who voted you in, no, Gokul Chandran.
Yeah, Sudha, aren't we in a harakiri in writing a note for the government, which is just 2 months old? We should, you people should show some mercy to the government, which is 2 months old and which will have teething problems, and things will be sorted. It is just not even 2 months. So give them some time. The development works are going to come. It is not going to run away anywhere. The MLAs have the constituency development funds. With that, they can do the development works. It is for 1 year, they can do the developments, and government will bring up some developments at some places. So what Mr. DK Shivkumar said is, initially, this is what we have done. We have fulfilled the promises, what we have given to the people during the elections, and after that, we will look into development. Nobody has said development.